Hello, everyone in football land. Mike Storey joining me for the second part of the 8-part series we're doing. We're going division by division. We start off with the two shittiest ones. We're on to the NFC South story. Is it the most average division in football?
This was I was going through the numbers earlier today, and it's that Spider-Man meme where 3 Spider-Men are pointing at each other? That's exactly what this division is to me. It's these guys all kind of going around in a circle. Before we jump in, though, I had dinner at the club last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
How did that go?
Yeah. Bad. Like, the food was bad. The service was bad. Like, things have really taken a turn at that place. I'm super disappointed.
Dude, it's been going like that since 3 years before I left. Not so much in the golf department, but there's a GM there. I don't want to name names.
Right. Not trying to.
You got to be blacklisted from Hop Sings. He named names. Oh shit. Yeah.
Anyway, I thought you'd appreciate
me, I heard all about it. Yeah,
okay.
I did appreciate that. Once I leave, guess what? Even the food went to shit, even though I wasn't involved in that. But I'm gonna say it was because I left. How about that?
I think that's probably what it was. They're like, so they couldn't get over the loss of the premier caddy master.
Damn straight. So give me your thoughts on the NFC South, man. It's so average. It's all the win totals are 6.5, 7.5, 8.5. And are you surprised that the Panthers have a 6.5 win total? The team that won the division, although they have a first place schedule, very tough schedule.
No, they made some improvements, but this division goes as these quarterbacks go. The only locked in guy, as far as I'm concerned, is Tampa Bay and Baker Mayfield. There's quarterback questions in Carolina. This is a make or break year for Bryce Young. There's obviously quarterback questions in Atlanta. I still think while Shuck appears to be the guy now, he could string together some bad games. I don't think New Orleans would be terribly upset about making a change there. But at the same time, New Orleans made a lot of offseason moves. They drafted Jordan Tyson. They could go from worst to first in this division. I think it's wide open. Tampa Bay is kind of counting on their defense, and they drafted Ruben Baines with their first overall pick in 15 overall. So yeah, big, 8-9, 3 8-9 teams last year and a 6-11 team. That tells you how mediocre. We talked about the AFC South. That division had 2 double-digit win teams last year. These guys could barely get to double digits between 4 teams.
And the Falcons, once Kirk Cousins came in, it wasn't so much he was better than Penix. I think the team gelled around them, and they were dangerous towards the end. I've been saying this for the last 8 months, that's the best team in the division talent-wise. It's just the quarterback play, and Raheem Morris was just bad, and he's just not a good head coach. No. So there was just a lot of stuff there that was loose. It was a very loose run organization. No one was accountable, but that talent's. Now, losing Pierce most likely this year because he committed 4 felonies like a clown, which we all knew was going to happen. Maybe not 4. I knew he'd commit 1.
We'll get to it. He might not miss. He might not. The legal stuff might be cleared up. He'll still be subject to whatever discipline the league wants to give, but the legal stuff might be cleared up if he completes his pretrial prevention program.
We'll see. Real quick, Dakota wants to know, what are your thoughts on our team so far? Which players were you targeting that went just before your pick? So Tyler Warren, we wanted in the 4th. There is a couple guys. We wanted Garrett Wilson. The 4 guys we had queued when there was 4 picks before us would all go every time. But we don't hate it. I think you're a little lower on it than I am.
I am a little lower on it, but I haven't been as plugged in. It's been a busy work week for me, so I'm kind of like picking it up hour by hour as opposed to, I'm sure you're plugged in nonstop.
So you're blaming me for the picks, is what I hear.
No.
I get it.
No.
I consult your ass every pick.
I'm only blaming you for the picks if we end up in the middle. If we end up at the top or the bottom, then I'm totally fine with it. So you don't want to be in the middle here. Yeah, I mean, Achane just got a bag, so I'm happy about that. Cook seems to be the guy there.
No, we don't have those guys. Those are the picks we traded. Come on, Story.
Yeah, the picks.
We have Kenneth Walker and Jahmyr Gibbs.
Right. Okay.
Let me ask you this. Would you rather have Kenneth Walker and Jahmyr Gibbs or Achane and James Cook?
Achane and James Cook. Kenneth Walker and Jahmyr Gibbs. That's right. Okay, but we do have Devonta Smith and Zay Flowers, so I can't keep this draft board straight. There's all these picks all over the place, man.
Would you rather have K9 and Jahmyr Gibbs?
I think
because they're all similar. It's all the same ages, essentially. The oldest player there is James Cook of the bunch, and Jahmyr Gibbs is the best. But Kenneth Walker is more of an X factor. But we're both really high on Kenneth Walker this year. And the Rashee Rice news, Mahomes coming back from injury, and all the money they paid him. I love Emmett Johnson. You don't love Emmett Johnson. I don't think he's a real threat to take real work away. This is not going to be what we saw last year with Seattle with Kenneth Walker. This is going to be as much as he handles 70% of the workload with that skill set in this offense with Andy Reid. I'm more interested in the pass catching, right? I think Kenneth Walker could catch 60 balls this year.
Yeah, I would like to see that go up as well. I'm cautiously optimistic. We've seen several years of productive guys and even no-name guys that became productive in Andy Reid's offenses. Last year, they were dealing with the walking corpse of Kareem Hunt, right, like, as their lead back, and then a couple of guys.
Pacheco with a broken leg. I mean,
yeah, not great. So, all right. So,
well, and how good was Kareem Hunt? Was actually really playable in fantasy last year because all the fucking touchdowns. You know what I mean? Like, there's touchdowns to be scored in this offense. But let's kind of pivot a little bit to we were speaking of the Chiefs. Let's talk about Rashee Rice. I haven't had you on the program since everything broke, and our boy Rashee Rice, who we were going to take in Dynasty, actually, we were hoping even before the news, we were going to take him at the 309, and he actually went at like the 304 after the news. So it's a aggressive pick. Storey is he's definitely, I got a little graphic on the board there. It's a new movie with Rashee Rice coming out. He is just always running. He's driving fast. He's running from cops. He's a clown. So he's definitely getting suspended this year. Would you agree?
The more I read into it, the more I don't know, because he was going to have to serve this 30 days at some point. So the league might be like, well, it wasn't a league mandated drug test, which would be a quick suspension. So they might, but they also don't like you kind of stomping on the shield, right? They want to protect the brand. So I could see a 3-game suspension. I could also see the league being like, yeah, it's the Chiefs. It's Mahomes is going to need his guy when he comes back. So let's just kind of like leave it alone as long as he serves the suspension. I think the bigger concern is the fact that he just had surgery a week ago. We just found out about it a week later, and his rehab is going to be stymied because he's going to have to be rehabbing in jail, which, having never been in jail, I can't personally attest to it, but I can't imagine they have the top-of-the-line medical facilities and doctors available to you.
Or nutrition or any of that kind of stuff you need.
Right. Right.
So let me ask you this. In terms of the suspension, you're right. If he had failed a drug test an NFL drug test, he's automatically suspended. But this was a legal drug test for his probation. Like, that shouldn't change anything because he still failed a drug test. It's on record. We all know about it. The NFL has to suspend him, not to mention he's going to – we knew about the jail thing, so it's not about the 30 days in jail. You serve your time. You did the crime. You serve your time, whatever. But if you think about the fact that he's now a repeat offender, like, they got to slap him with something. And I think the Chiefs' luster has kind of gone away. Remember how the Chiefs were just getting away with everything? Mm. They're not anymore. So it's just been a cavalcade of controversy, essentially, with Rashee Rice. And, like, can we just have an offseason and a draft where we know where Rashee Rice can go? Like, we know he's going to play. It's not injury. It's not suspension. It's not looming suspension. It's not knee, coming off arthroscopic knee surgery. It's just he's playing. Can we just get that for once so we know where to draft this guy?
Maybe, but seems not. There's additional
next
risk.
Year?
He's the guy's a knucklehead. He's now Antonio Brown. I mean, his brain's not as scrambled.
Well, you said Josh Gordon. You compared him to Josh Gordon. And here's the wild thing is his situation's great story, but Josh Gordon was an elite talent. Let me just reemphasize. Go look at Josh Gordon's run with the Cleveland Browns playing high without really trying. Josh Gordon was lighting up the NFL. Rashee Rice has done this with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid in a cookie cutter role, essentially. What would he do with the Browns back then? Like, he's not a talented enough player. He's really good at, with the ball in his hands. He's got good hands. He's a big slot. I understand that. But Rashee Rice is just a regular player in an extraordinary situation.
Yes. This has been a great situation. And you look at the passing rate over expected when Rice is on the field versus when he's not. While I don't think he is a top-tier NFL wide receiver talent, he certainly makes a difference in that offense. That said, I do have a lot of sympathy for Josh Gordon. I think there's a lot of mental health stuff there, and addiction is no joke. But the league really came down on him. But at the same time, the league gave him a lot of chances. Like, he kept coming. He kept giving a suspension. He kept coming back. I think it's going to be the same with Rice, where he's going to do something and he'll come back from this, and then maybe something will pop up next offseason or during the season or whatever it is. You got to take that into account. Is Rashee Rice?
We had the domestic thing last year that he got off. So this is now another strike. Now it was nothing, right? But it was in the news. Like, this is 3 strikes, man. And this is not strictly a substance thing, because this is the only time drugs have been involved. The racing thing was essentially Henry Ruggs-esque. And like, now we're looking at, we have Henry Ruggs, we have Tyreek Hill, and now we have Josh Gordon, like all wrapped into one. He's done all of the things those guys have done. It's just not, it's one thing if you struggle with one thing. He's struggling with everything, man.
But correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't the domestic abuse allegation thrown out? So
yeah, no, it was. I'm still sayit's still there. Like,
well,
do you want that on your resume? Do you want that if you're applying for a job, even if it's thrown out? Like, the fact that your name is in the same sentence as domestic abuse in the NFL and the culture we live in is not a good look.
From the Chiefs' perspective, I'm sure they're not happy about it. The NFL's not happy about it. But if you're talking strictly on paper, that domestic abuse allegation is gone. That basically never happened. And while he does have to he has to serve this 30 days, he was going to have to do it anyway. I'm wondering when he was going to do it, actually. Like, was he going to do it after OTAs, but before minicamp or like training camp?
I think he had a couple of years to do it. It's weird how they do that. The legal system's just wacky. The NFL
since when can you
process is wacky.
Since when can you choose when you get to serve a jail sentence? That was a weird. I've never heard of that ever.
When you have millions of dollars, Storey.
And
Rashee Rice, guess what? Here's what I always say to all these players. Do this shit after your career, because your career is most certainly going to be like 6 years, 7 years max for most of these guys. Save all your crimes and your dumb decisions for after you're rich and loaded and done with the league. And then you can actually maximize your earning potential. And like, Rashee Rice is a fucking idiot.
Look at this. This is Laurence Olivier and Othello. And this is James Earl Jones. Now look at how close they look.
Look at that. James Earl Jones doing a great blackface.
James Earl Jones has a black face. He's a black man.
He's not black. James
Of course
Earl
he's
Jones,
black.
He was Darth Vader.
Darth Vader was black?
No,
See? Okay, there we go.
Darth Vader was not black. They took the mask off. He was white.
You ready to see a good white face? Here we go. White face.
Michael, have you seen that movie yet?
No, I'm not watching that crap, that propaganda.
It is a lot of propaganda, from what I understand.
Yeah, there's a white face. The white face doesn't work nearly as well because that's not a human being, guys. That is not a human being. It once was, maybe, possibly.
Maybe.
Up for debate. Up for debate. Okay, we got the draft rolling here. Josh Jacobs went 410. Javonte Williams went 409, which is fine for us because we have 2 of the best running backs in the league, Storey, so we're good at running back. Unless
seems early for Javonte Williams in Dynasty, personally.
Dakota says, what a propaganda about it. Well, technically any documentary is going to be propaganda on one side or the other. It's rare that there's a documentary that's right down the middle, right? Like you can have 2 sides of the argument. It's like politics, right? Like if they make a Democratic, or the Democrats make one, it's going to be this side, and Republicans going to be on their side. That's why I don't like. I mean, I like documentaries about like good shit, like interesting shit, not about this.
That Super Size Me documentary was all hogwash. The dude basically made all sorts of stuff up.
Yeah, they said he gained like 40 pounds. Like, dude, get out of here with that shit.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't, certain documentaries are great. Like, I would say The Last Dance is pretty awesome, even though that was a Michael Jordan documentary, right? Like, it didn't have a lot of Scottie Pippen in that one. Dakota loved that because he hates Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen doesn't tip. We know that. No Pippen tip. No tip and Pippen. But hell of a basketball player and 6 rings. So, anyways, let's get to that's what we do. Let's get to the NFC South, and it is gross. It is disgusting. Jonathan, I wasn't going to Hendy or Bucky and needed a workhorse running back. Yeah, Hendy is falling, and you know what? It's because I'm not saying it's all because of us, but like everyone in here is in the community, watches this show, and they've heard us rail against Travion Henderson forever. So I think we're like brainwashing these guys so we can get Travion Henderson in the 6th round.
So like if he falls to this, I guess that'd be interesting. Like Fantasy Pros has him in PPR listed. No, these are rookies. I don't want that. Damn it. Dynasty rankings. No, I don't want pop-ups either. Stupid website. The internet is.
They have them way faster.
Yeah.
Sorry, way
14.
faster. I'm thinking about the internet. Way higher. 14.
Yeah, they got him at 14.
Way above Josh Jacobs. Dakota, this is why I said it was propaganda, though, because the movie was just about young Michael coming up, which is fine, but they're leaving out all the other stuff, which I get is probably not good. Like, people don't want to watch that. It's not like warm-hearted to watch that shit. but it's hard to do it's like doing an OJ documentary and like leaving out the murders. It's unfortunately like that's a big part of OJ's legacy is the murdering his fucking ex-wife allegedly and Ron Goldman. I'm kidding. That's not allegedly. It's not alleged.
Well, it's not even alleged because he was cleared of wrongdoing in a court of law.
He was also found guilty in a civil trial because they found new evidence. If they had that evidence in the civil trial, you're right.
Not
If they
guilty.
had the evidence, the shoes.
So he was found liable in a civil trial based on a preponderance of the evidence because the standard for is much lower in a civil court than it is a criminal court.
But it's the shoes, right? The OJ shoes, the ones that he said he didn't own. That there was like 300 pairs ever made. They were Italian, and like there's this footage of him in the Bills Super Bowl in the sideline wearing them.
No,
that's what got him guilty. That's what was the cherry on top for the prosecution.
Didn't Mark Furman just die?
Huh? Mark Furman, notable racist for sure. Mark Furman, but you know what? I think Mark Furman. I don't think Mark Furman planted any evidence personally. Well, the thing is, he might have, but there was like 300 articles of evidence. He didn't plant 300 articles of evidence, right?
He did. He died like a week and a half ago.
Oh no shit! Rip Mark Furman.
Yeah, he's dead.
Yeah.
Anyway,
don't say dumb shit on record if you're a cop. It's all this is the moral of that story because it's going to come back in a court of law for you. All right, NFC South story. Nice little intro as usual, per usual. So let's just talk a little bit broad strokes here. Give me you went through your predictions the other day. Give me your predictions on these teams. Who's winning this division? And is there a dark horse in terms of odds? Because they're all, like you said, all very clumped together.
They are pretty clumped together here. I still think it's Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, Atlanta, Carolina, New Orleans seems right to me. I do think
New Orleans last.
I did say New Orleans is going to take a step forward, but they're still dealing with a relatively old second-year quarterback, and the talent needs to gel, right? It's going to be a bit of a learning curve for Tyson. He's not just going to come in and be a tremendous asset right off the bat. It's going to, these guys always take a little bit of time to get there. So, yeah, that's where I'm at. I think Tampa Bay bounces back. What do you think?
I take Tampa Bay just based on quarterback play, and their defense can't be any worse than.
It will get better. Like
just because of Bain, but even if you take Bain out of the equation, like what happened last year to Todd Bowles' defense, as much as we harp on the guy for being a bad head coach, he's still even if you think he's lost like a little bit of his mind, which is probably likely, he's still I'd say average coordinator, right? Average defensive coordinator. And that defense has some talent. They're always great against the run. So, like, that was always going to improve. Baker's not going to get hurt again. At least we don't think so. He was playing hurt last year. So, I'm taking the Bucs in this division, and I think the Falcons are the most talented. The Saints everyone's betting on the Saints. Everyone has the Saints as the darlings of this division. And I will say this, Kellen Moore is impressive. Everyone talks about Ben Johnson and talks about Liam Cohen. We need to talk more about Kellen Moore because Kellen Moore was right up there with what he did the second half of the year with Tyler Shuck and even earlier on with Spencer Rattler. Like, the offense was fine. They didn't have a lot of talent to work with last year. But the defense is still going to be a big question for me. And the Panthers won the division last year, like we said. I have some faith in Bryce Young. We're going to get to Bryce Young a little later, and some of the stats are not good for Bryce Young. The eye test is not good for Bryce Young. But they definitely brought in some reinforcements on that defense, and I love Devin Lloyd. So you have that going on there. And, Tet's going to be in a second year. It's just there's just not a lot of playmakers in that offense, and Bryce Young needs some playmakers.
Yeah. Back to the defense for Tampa Bay. I don't want to make light of losing Levante David and Jamel Dean. Those are two big losses on the defensive side, but that Ruben Bain draft pick, plus they got Anzalone and they got Josiah Trotter. I think those are all really nice replacements there. So the defense in and of itself, I think they're going to get a little more aggressive on defense. I mean, I do think that Bowles is on the hot seat, so they kind of have to perform. But I think Bain's going to have an immediate impact on this team. We heard about his lack of arm length. That's probably why he dropped to 15. But the dude is just an outstanding edge player.
Yeah, what I love about Bain is he fits. We talk about these players fit in the system. Like, Bain's great against the run. So he's a physical edge rusher. He's kind of like a Khalil Mack, where he's going to set the edge. He's not going to, to lose his assignment. I think he's he fits with what they want to do there, opposed to just one of these pure edge rushers. So I like that fit for him. Blake has the odds here to win the division: Bucks plus 190, Saints plus 280, Panthers plus 300, and Falcons plus 310. This is crazy, man. You don't ever see this. No real favorite and no real plus 310 is the last place team. What the value here has to be with the Falcons, right? Not just because they have the lowest odds, but the fact that I think they had the second best roster, and they have, Tua's been good before, and Penix is still a top 10 pick that's coming off another injury, but a highly touted guy.
8 overall. They say there's no quarterback competition in Atlanta, but there very clearly is, at least in my opinion. The Falcons, 310 is these guys are all bunched together, but you might as well take a shot on a team that scored the most points in this division last year, right? Tua, even though he's lost a step, he took the Dolphins to 2 playoff runs. So there's hope for this offense, I think.
Blake says Panthers are my value pick over the Falcons. My biggest issue with the Panthers, if you just go, I don't hate being this guy where it's like, look at the schedule. Their schedule is really tough. It is really tough. One of the toughest in the NFL, not to mention this division. That's my worry with the Panthers. But the upside is we saw them beat the Rams in the regular season. They should have beat the Rams in the playoff game. We both know this story. We were tied to the Rams in the fantasy playoff league. And they were ascending. I like Dave Canales. I kind of like Bryce Young. It's just they're definitely a value at plus 300. I just think Atlanta has a better roster, and they have a pretty easy schedule, at least on paper. They have 2 chances. What I love about this, they have 0 quarterback story. The old adage: if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have 0. But I like the options. I like the options because Tua, at least Tua can run can run a team on schedule, whatever that means. It's not a good schedule. It's a lot of dump downs. And then you have the upside shot with Penix, who has the big arm. So I like the fact they have 2 different chances. And if Tua doesn't work out, which I think he's going to start, we'll talk about that later. They have Penix fully healthy week 4, week 5. Mouth, shout out to Mouth. New Orleans winning that division. I had them first. Everyone is following my opinion. People need to hop off my takes and get their own. Well, Mouth, we're not taking your opinion because Storey had them last, and I have them 3rd in this division. So. Yeah, I think it's just the Kellen Moore thing. That's why people are saying, and I see why the Saints should, but the odds don't have the Saints as the favorites. I think the Bucs are clearly the best team in this division, and Baker's the best quarterback by a long stretch. Even though Baker has the most interceptions since 2018, guys, Baker Mayfield's a gamer, and his teammates love him. I do trust in a bounce back for Baker and this whole team.
They also have the best wide receiving core, even with the loss of Mike Evans, the best wide receiving core in that division. So now didn't they all go 3-3 in division last year?
That would make a lot of sense. Check that out. Yeah. Big Ray is in here. Ray, we already talked about the Dynasty League. We're doing the preview here, but we will talk about that in the end of the show if you want to stick around. But I like what you guys are doing. I think took a lot of Bears players, and if you take Caleb, you're going to get you're playing this like best ball stacking. But Colson Loveland, you got him at a value because I know you said you were going to take him in the second round. Tyler Perry. Hey, I've seen 15 straight drafts where Rice still goes over A.J. Brown, Olave, and T. Higgins in the 3rd round. He's speaking of best ball. Man, I've only done a couple best balls since the news came out. And in one in particular was a super flex I did on Erica's account, and we got him in the 6th round. We took Rashee Rice in the 6th round in a super flex. So I think it's still fair to take him over A.J. Brown, but I'm not taking him over Olave and T. Higgins.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't know what this situation looks like come August, though. This is Rashee Rice, when he's on the field, there's nobody else on that offense that you're not going to start Tyquan Thornton, right? Travis Kelce is old. So who else is catching passes there? When he's there, he should be pretty solid. The big question mark is what's your risk tolerance for guys like this? This is one thing after another with this guy.
He's talking about redraft. You've done 15 redrafts since the news. That's insane. That's May. I wouldn't advise doing Dynasty is one thing. Do not do redraft this early, guys. And this is one of the reasons why, is you have Rashee Rice every year being a big question mark. Tyler says Saints are the worst. All they have is Kamara, and now they lost him. Well, Kamara's still going to be on the team, but he's dust anyway. They have ETN, which I'm not an ETN guy.
I mean, all they have, like the Kamara thing being there is a bit of a wrinkle. They don't want to send him off packing, but that's kind of how it feels, and he doesn't want to be anywhere else. So all it feels like is he's just getting, from a fantasy perspective, he's just going to eat into ETN's touches a little bit. I loved Kamara, but the guy is like, he's kind of toast at this point.
They have Chris Olave is an elite receiver. Jordan Tyson, we love. I'm a little questionable on Tyler Shuck, but I have some stats coming up here in a little bit that's going to make you love Tyler Shuck, at least for fantasy. Real life's a little different, but fantasy, I do like it. Let's see. Mouth, I think ESPN is checking out your show. Can we all say that? And they're the sexy pick. It's because it's easy to talk about Kellen Moore and Tyler Shuck and blah, 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 blah. Chris Olave, like, it's fine. It's fine. Tyler, Kamara already has said publicly that if they trade him or release him, he's going to retire. And whether that's true or not, he said that multiple times, Storey, like on record. He loves the Big Easy. He's a big man of that community. He's also a guy that like is super chill and wants to smoke weed. So like he's ready just to hang it up. If he's not playing for his hometown Saints, which he loves and they love him, he's out. And it makes sense. Why he's dust. And I have some crazy Alvin Kamara stats. Let's move on to the division here. Tyler Shuck is over under 3,700 yards. I did see that, Dakota. It's up there. It's way up there because usually even the big guns are 4,000 because they bake in injuries. So 3,700 is really high.
Somebody tell me what Caleb Williams is at.
Right around the same.
Okay. Interesting.
Like Lamar is at 3,200. I mean, that's justifiable because of scrambling. But like, how is he 500 yards over Lamar? Maybe injuries, I guess. But like, wild stuff.
Okay.
All right. Let's start off here with the Falcons. Go alphabetical order story. Falcons 8-9 last year. They were 353 points scored, 401 points against. So they were almost a minus 50. And I think they have a great roster. Like Bijan's the best running back in football. That is not really a debate. Drake London's one of my favorite players in the league. Kyle Pitts emerged. And that defense is young. Like I said, probably not having Pierce this year. I think let's go into this discussion with saying Pierce is not playing this year because that dude committed 4 felonies. So he's not in the equation. It sucks. He had a great rookie year. But give me your take on the Falcons.
So I don't want to say that he won't be playing because the last I read is the charges against him will be dismissed if he completes his pretrial intervention program offered.
He'll be suspended for a long time.
But the NFL is reviewing the incident under the personal conduct policy. So you have to figure a pretty lengthy suspension, 4 to 6 games. But outside of that, the big question mark is this comes down to this quarterback competition and which guy it is. Last year, 8-9, 3-3 in division, as you mentioned, the points for and against. But Zachariah Branch is, the draft of Zachariah Branch. I wasn't a huge fan of his during the draft process. They lost Tyler Algier, Kirk Cousins. On the defensive side, they lost Caden Ellis and David Oneyemata. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Everybody else is, they lost McGarry, but he wasn't a full-time player. They picked up a bunch of guys in free agency. And so it looks like the backup now on the running back side is going to be Brian Robinson Jr. to Bijan Robinson. You agree?
Yeah, and I love him. I love him. It's going to be a lesser version of Tyler Algier for fantasy and also usage, but he'll still be there on the goal line because Bijan Robinson, as much as I say he's the best running back in the league, he is much closer to an average goal line running back than an elite goal line running back. And the numbers do bear that out.
Yeah.
So they should just give him the ball. They should just keep him on the field, but it's also the Falcons do some crazy stuff. Maybe they're trying to save him a little bit because they use him so much in the pass game, and they can't keep on giving him 400 touches a year. They can't.
I mean, you would think so.
They have to.
But the thing is, like, so he's one of the 3 core skill position players, right? Bijan Robinson, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts, guys that have been around for a little while. They're still pretty young. This roster's got talent, but these guys, the Falcons didn't make a ton of moves in the offseason. They really didn't have the ability to make a ton of moves. They didn't have a first-round pick this year. So it feels like their window is kind of slipping away from them a little bit. They've been pretty stagnant. Like the Falcons, since the Matt Ryan days, this team has not really performed. And when you have a guy like Drake London, who should be a superstar in this league, and you've got Bijan Robinson, arguably the best running back in this league, is it the quarterback play? Is it the coaching? It's probably a combination of everything. So this Tua signing is going to push Penix. Either he's healthy and he is the guy, or if he's healthy and he's not the guy, Tua takes over. But again, this is not a plan for the future. Like Penix is the future. If it didn't work out, it's back to the drawing board. Kevin Stefanski's been pretty highly touted, and he did bring the Browns to the playoffs a couple of times, but he also had some pretty underwhelming seasons there in Cleveland. So all in all, it's just a lot of unknowns with this team. And while I think for fantasy, London's going to be fine, Pitts will be okay, and Bijan Robinson should be excellent, I don't see this team making a step forward. I don't see them making the playoffs this year.
So let's talk about fantasy ADPs here. I'm going to go off Underdog Best Ball, where these guys are going by position. So we have Tua and Penix going back-to-back. Quarterback 31 for Tua, quarterback 32 for Penix, ADP 93 for Tua, 105 for Penix. So I don't think it really matters in terms of their own value because in redraft, they're so far off the board. Even in a super flex, they're not even starters, right? But this matters for the rest of the guys. And I kind of want to just figure out and talk to you about what it matters for. But this is one of those situations where we're drafting, and we're going to talk about it here in a second, which players will benefit with which quarterback. But we're not going to know. We're not going to know. They're not going to tip their hand. Why would they? This is an open competition. They're also not revealing a lot of information about Penix's injury. I just wish we had like some kind of bug or some kind of microphone in that clubhouse, right? To just get the information of who's starting, because they probably know.
You're planting a baby monitor?
Yeah. A lot of people are bugging their babies these days. I guess babies can't be trusted.
What exactly is it you're expecting to find here?
A lot of shady shit.
Like what?
Like maybe Bruce is banging dudes.
Why would that be shady?
Maybe the dudes are babies.
What? Bruce is not banging any baby dudes. Look, we're...
Maybe I had to slip that in there. Maybe Stefanski's banging baby dudes or something. Yeah. Who knows? Anyways, so here's the way I think it's going to play out. And you give me your take after this. I think Tua starts the first 3, 4, 5 games, depending on how good he does. And it's his job. It's his job to lose. And if they're 2-3 and their offense isn't really humming and he doesn't look great, he can't move like normal, and he's just not on the same page with London and they're losing games, they go to Penix because then he'll have a full, an extra 4 or 5 weeks to get healthy. And then once they go to Penix, they probably stick with Penix because if it works, then he's going to be the starter. If it doesn't work, they're going to want to get an extended look at Michael Penix because he is much more of their future than Tua. They're not tied to Tua. It's literally a free contract because the Dolphins are paying all of his money. And if he gets benched for Penix, Tua's career's over. I'm sorry, it's done because this is in a dome, warm weather games when it's not in a dome. Like this is what Tua needs. So in terms of who this affects the most, I love Bijan with Tua because it's going to be 100 receptions for Bijan. I like London with Penix because I'll give you a real little stat here. Drake London had a 29.2% target share last year and 28% 3 of the last 4 years. So, and you saw the end of the year, 2024, Penix was targeting him like 14 times a game. And then when he was healthy last year, when they're both healthy, he had a 16 target game. He had like a 13 target game. This is all Drake London because Drake London is not a great separator, but Michael Penix has a cannon. He just fucking throws it to his big wide receiver. Kyle Pitts is better with Tua. And I think Zach Branch is better with Tua. What do you think about that?
I think Zachariah Branch will be a non-factor with anybody. Tua included.
You know what I'm saying, though? Because it's the bubble.
I understand exactly what you're saying.
Like,
yeah.
Michael Penix can't throw a bubble screen because he throws it over somebody's head.
Yeah, well, I think Bijan will be fine anyway you stack it.
But you prefer, because Penix has the higher upside for this offense because the skill set. But Bijan is going to live on, if you want to get RB1 overall over Jahmyr Gibbs, you need to have all the receptions. And when Michael Penix was playing, Bijan's reception totals were not what they were with Kirk Cousins and years prior. So the upside is with Tua.
I would push back a little bit, and I would say if you want RB1 overall upside, you need touchdowns in addition to pass catching, and touchdowns are going to come with Penix. Penix is the one that's going to be able to push the ball downfield. I think Tua is basically dust. I think it's Penix's job, and they're bringing in Tua to like kind of push Penix along, but it's Penix's job to lose. Like this is the first overall pick, and again, I know it's a new regime. Not first overall pick, first round pick, 8th overall pick. I know it's a new regime there, but like the Atlanta Falcons organization. Arthur Blank has got to make this one stick. And if not, then they need to figure it out quick. So I think it's as long as he's healthy, it's Penix on the field. If he continues to struggle, they might turn to Tua, but they're going to give Penix every chance to be the starter all year long.
Do you see that, like what I'm talking about with starting Tua, because Penix is coming off an injury, and it's if you start with Penix and you bench Penix, it's over for Penix. It's over. If you start Tua and you bench him for Penix, it's over for Tua, but they're not tied to Tua. Like, they want to make Penix work. So I feel like your best chances is to start Tua, the healthy guy, although he'd be new in the system. But then this is also new for Penix too, because Stefanski that was not there last year.
Right.
Miles says if Dylan Gabriel goes to Atlanta, Stefanski does slam baby dudes. Yeah. Let's get Gabriel and Tua, all these little soft tossing little lefties in there, throwing lame. Let's get Tim Tebow in there as well. Lefties that have weak ass arms. Appreciate Mouth.
They should just hire. They should just sign Taysom Hill, because he's obviously not coming back to New Orleans.
There you go. Real quick, shout out to Downtown Sports and Mouse South, guys, on YouTube now, 23 other platforms. Search Downtown Sports, where sports come home. Beast and Mouth, 1 or 2 shows a week, every single Tuesday night. Doing a lot of NBA stuff now. So if you're into the NBA, you're not getting that in this channel, go check them out. Give them a follow. Give them a listen. You will not be disappointed. Any last thoughts? So Drake London going wide receiver 8. Obviously, Bijan's RB1. And Zach Branch, wide receiver 78. Kyle Pitts, tight end 8. Kyle Pitts is a value at tight end 8, right? When they have no second receiver and no real second running back.
Right. Like, Darnell Mooney's gone.
Jahan Dotson. I do like Jahan Dotson. But it's going to be look what Mooney did last year.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, Jahan Dotson he'll end up being a journeyman when everything's said and done. Zach Branch doesn't really move the needle. I guess by default, it's got to be Pitts. But man, how many times have we been burned by Pitts in the past? It's becoming a trend at this point.
And Pitts was not good with Penix. Penix is just not accurate in those routes, right? Intermediate stuff. It was all with Kirk Cousins, which is why I like him more at Tua, because look what Jonnu Smith did with Tua. That was tight end 1 for that stretch, right?
Well, and look what what's his name did with Tua, the touchdowns before he got injured again.
Waller, dude. Darren Waller.
Yeah.
Nice call. This is a good one from Dakota. Thoughts on passing on Bijan by trading 101 in a startup? So Dakota traded 101, and Mouth actually took Jamar Chase, and we had Chase ranked the highest because we want to take a wide receiver in the top 3 just based on longevity, right?
Yeah. I mean, for Dynasty, certainly. You can make an argument for any of those 3 guys in a redraft. I think most people are going to go Gibbs or Bijan, but I think Chase is just as valuable, even without a healthy Joe Burrow, and he's dealt with several injuries in his career. Jamar Chase is just an absolute stud. And I don't
126 catches last year without Joe Burrow. So
yeah,
I don't. You're a Bijan guy. I'm a Gibbs guy. I would go Gibbs over Bijan in Dynasty and in redraft. I think Gibbs is going to have an all-time season this year.
We got to see if Gibbs can handle. We know Bijan can handle the workload. We got to see if Gibbs can handle the workload. That's the thing. That's the only thing that gives me a little bit of pause. They're really close, but and I know that Gibbs was taking on a 70% running back opportunity share near the second half of the year. But like, let me see Gibbs do it over the course of a full season. Then I would say you could put him over Bijan.
Dakota had JSN ranked number 1 in startup. The age is nice. The fact there's no one else really there besides Shaheed in the running game, which is a question mark as well. I know the Seahawks defense and their defensive team. I think the upside of JSN with that monster of a defense they have there is going to be lower. I think last year was just the target share and everything worked so perfect. I'm not saying anything against Sam Darnold. I would never say anything against Sam Darnold, guys. I'm just saying that, like, Jamar Chase, we've seen Jamar Chase have nuclear season, right? We've seen Puka have nuclear season. And JSN just had that, but you saw how it could go bad with JSN. Games where they don't need him and he has 3 for 40 because they're winning 21-0.
I don't want to take anything away from what JSN did last year, but it came on the back of an unsustainable target share. Like, it's just not possible for him to have
efficiency, dude. All those deep bombs. Like, I'm not saying he can't go deep. Like, obviously he can, but I'm sorry. Jamar Chase is just a better player. And am I crazy to say that? Like,
no, I think Jamar Chase is the best player in the NFL. Frankly, maybe not the best player,
receiver. Bijan's probably the best player in the NFL.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, it's probably a quarterback. Actually, it's probably Josh Allen is the best player in the NFL.
I like that.
But yeah, I mean, best receiver. I still think is Jamar Chase. I'm not.
Justin Jefferson's right up there too, buddy.
I wouldn't begrudge anyone that want to take JSN number 1 overall either. Like, if you're banking on that team running it back on offense, and they didn't add anybody, Sheed will have another year in the system, so he probably should play a bigger role. But they didn't really add anybody of note in the offseason. So I say it's an unsustainable target share, but we'll see what it looks like come week 1.
Well, it's funny that we have, I want him being tied to Joe Burrow is awesome, but also it's not good because Joe Burrow can't finish a fucking season. But give me your number. I know we're kind of off topic here. Give me your percentage chance that Sam Darnold turns back into a pumpkin. When I say pumpkin, closer to what he was than what he has been.
Yeah,
20%, 30%.
It's been 2 years in a row now, so I think that number is dropping. And I would say turning back into a full-blown pumpkin, it's down to a 20% chance. It's a pretty low chance at this point.
Fair. We're, the only worries we have with Joe Burrow is Andrew Luck type retirement, which is kind of on the table, and then just not playing. When he's playing, Joe Burrow's the best pocket quarterback in the NFL, and it's really not close.
Yeah, and for the most part, Chase is quarterback proof. When you get a quarterback in there that understands,
when you have Joe Flacco,
like if you were Joe Flacco, wouldn't you target Jamar Chase 20 times? Because what's his name?
Good strategy.
Browning came in and he barely targeted. Those were the games where
he was throwing to T. Higgins. He was throwing to the tight end. It was silly.
It was
fucking Browning and
super silly. So on the backup quarterback, I'm going to target those guys 50% of the time personally.
All right, we're going to get to the Panthers preview in a second. I'm going to hit you guys with the intro and then Panthers preview. Gentlemen, 20 seconds.
Little DB Cooper there. That was nice.
Yeah. There's a really good documentary on Netflix about DB Cooper.
Have to check it out.
Pretty big mystery, man. Yeah, it's pretty interesting, man. I don't know what the hell to make of that guy. He probably died, but we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know for sure, but yeah, he probably did die. So
good heist though. Let's get on to the Panthers here. 8-9 last year, 311 points scored, 380 points against. Really low number on offense there. Storey, and we mentioned how tough their schedule is. We mentioned how insane Bryce Young stats are. I'm going to read off some stats for you guys. Fantasy related, also Panthers related here. Bryce Young's 6.0 yards per pass attempt over the last 3 seasons ranks 36th among 37 quarterbacks with 500 plus attempts. Yeah. That's gross. Now, that's also a reflection of the talent that's been around him. Now, Ted McMillan is in year 2. They didn't address the tight end position. I wish they drafted Sadiq, as much as we're not Sadiq guys. Somebody, not Jadavion Sanders. And I love Tommy Tremble, but Tommy Tremble is just a jag. So, in the running back room is gross too. So that is rough. There's a lot of Bryce Young metrics out there, but the eye test has been a little better. It's just every 3 games, he has one of these stinkers of 12 for 27 for $140. Games that's you see in college, right? And we just can't have those. All right, my boy Chuba Hubbard, who 2 years ago I made a lot of money on. Last year was one of my number one fades. I think I'm warming to Chuba Hubbard. He is currently running back 27, but these stats are gross. So Chuba Hubbard these are his ranks among 51 running backs with 90 plus carries last year. 41st in yards per carry, 45th in rush yards over expected per attempt, 49th in yards after contact per carry, 50th in missed tackles forced per carry, and 41st in pro football focus rushing grade. There's nothing in the 30s there. And this is out of fucking 51 running backs, dude. So, and he was coming off an injury though, right? He got hurt. He rushed back, clearly rushed back because he was getting Wally pipped by Rico Dowdle. The eye test didn't seem to be that bad because when he got in the field, I didn't see a big difference from him and Rico. But the proof's in the pudding there. That was a bad year from Chuba. The year prior was more in the, he was in the 60th percentile opposed to this is the 10th percentile. So what's the real Chuba Hubbard? Is it the year we saw in 2024 or is it what we saw last year? In the middle?
Yeah, I don't think we would have seen what we saw in 2024 with Chuba Hubbard if what's his name was healthy. Why is he I am bad at
Jonathan Brooks.
Thank you, Jonathan Brooks. I don't know why I can't come up with names tonight. I'm really bad.
The smartest guys I know, but it's not just tonight's story.
Yeah, I have a terrible time recalling names.
No, it's not that easy to do a fucking live show. It's not that easy. Yeah. I make it look really easy, Story, but that's because I'm on a different fucking planet. I'm always drunk. It just comes to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's
Story. Get drunk, bro.
I'm
I'm gonna start fucking drugging Storey.
Do you think that would be the best if I just started getting absolutely blasted?
Not hammered. You know that I get that nice little 1.5 times the legal limit. That's that nice feeling. You know what I mean?
Well,
Good
okay,
feeling.
yeah, you're not driving though, so the biggest. I mean, so Chuba Hubbard had a pretty mediocre 2023 season, but that's the year that he caught the most passes and the most reception. I mean, I think he caught the most passes in 24, but he had the most receiving yards in 2023. So he was much more of a grinder in 24 and 25. Jalen Brooks should eat into this. Now, Rico Dowdle being gone means a lot for that room. Rico Dowdle had a stellar, 3 games in a row or something like that, and then they kept coming back to him, and it leveled off very quickly. I think it's somewhere in the middle. I think this running back room is going to be a committee, and it's going to be kind of gross for fantasy football. The fact that Chuba Hubbard only gets 200 yards receiving every year means that for fantasy value, he's just really no upside, right? And I don't think this team's going to score a whole ton of points for the touchdowns to be there.
Blake, can you look up Chuba's 2024 receiving stats? It was like 40 catches for 200 yards. It was some crazy number, 5 yards per catch, which we don't in PPR. We don't care. We want the point for the catch. We don't care about the yards as much, but it was something really crazy, which is in all the stats I just read to you. So let's talk about the running back room as a whole. So Chuba RB 27 right now in underdog, half PPR. Jonathan Brooks RB 40. So I was loving the days when I was getting Jonathan Brooks at RB 48, RB 50. And now, the price on Brooks, this is a little too close. I want Chuba at value over Brooks because Chuba's going outside the starting range, at least in terms of redraft, outside of RB2 range. And I know early season is going to be Chuba. I think there's a good chance Jonathan Brooks forces a 50-50 committee, which is kind of what he was doing the year he got hurt when he came back after those 3 games.
Right.
And then he tore his ACL again. But I love Jonathan Brooks. I love both these guys at value because there's going to be value in this backfield, especially when we go ahead in a second and look at their tight end room and their wide receiver room. I love Jalen Coker, but there's not a lot there. And there's going to be a lot of pass catching upside here. And this, the defense has improved. So they're going to be in some close games. I don't think they're going to have a great record, but it's one of these teams where they're going to be in a lot of 1-score games, which is going to be Chuba Hubbard, Jonathan Brooks. So Chuba Hubbard, RB 27. Are you in, Storey? If you go wide receiver, you mix in a quarterback or tight end early, you need to fill that RB2 spot. The upside is not really great, but this is a pretty much slot him into your RB2 slot and get 14 points a game.
Yeah, if you're doing a 0 RB build or a hero RB build, and you need a solid running back 2 that's going outside of that range, there's value to be had there. We can't immediately assume that Jonathan Brooks is going to be a fantasy stud or even a fantasy contributor, even though it seems like his ADP is rising. I bet as things continue and Jonathan Brooks becomes healthier, we'll probably see those ADPs converge nearer as we get towards training camp, right?
Then I'll like Chuba even more. Chuba even more because, again, I don't want to take him as a bench running back because I want my bench running backs to be able to go boom. He's not going to go boom. As an RB2, kind of a placeholder, Chuba Hubbard's amazing. And listen to this stat from Blake. Shout out Blake, media manager on the show. He is my Jamie. He is going to be my producer when this show takes off. We appreciate you, Blake. Chuba, 2024 receiving stats, 43 catches, 171 yards, and 1 touchdown. Dude, I said 40 catches for 200 yards. So this is essentially 4.1 yards per catch. You can't make that shit up. How is that possible?
Not great. Now, I think that Chuba's going to be fine for fantasy. He's not going to be world beating, but he was probably overdrafted coming off of a 1,200-yard season the year before and double-digit touchdowns, right? Injuries played a part last year, but he was not a standout like he was in 24 last year, and that's probably closer to the truth than what we saw in 2024. 2024 was just there was nobody else there, right? So give him 250 carries. He did run, the 4.9 yards per carry. It was not bad. The efficiency was there last year. Huge dip, and that's probably the real Chuba Hubbard, or closer to the real Chuba Hubbard.
Those are wild stats, man.
I was between that and Muhammad.
Why the fuck would it be between that or Muhammad? Why don't you just pick a common name like a normal person?
Muhammad is the most commonly used name on earth. Read a fucking book for one.
Outstanding.
Let's chat about the wide receiver room a little bit here. Ted McMillan, 1.84 yards per route. ranked second amongst 12 rookies with 40-plus targets last year and 16th amongst 62 rookie wide receivers with 40-plus targets over the last 5 years. So he was, wouldn't say super elite, but he was definitely give him a B grade as a rookie in that situation. And they weren't very creative with him last year's Story. This was a lot of just him playing X, which, for a rookie coming in, I don't care what his profile was coming out of college, playing true X with no other talent around you. Don't forget, Jalen Coker missed the first 6 weeks last year. So it was nothing around him. No tight end. He was getting doubled. He was seeing shadow coverage, seeing the number one corner. This is impressive stuff, right? And I know you're a Ted McMillan fan.
I am a Ted McMillan fan. I do think you take a step forward. It was an inconsistent season. The touchdowns were more consistent in the second half, which is definitely what we like to see, although those are not a particularly sticky stat. But he had several games in the back half of the year where he just didn't show up. You know what I mean? Like one reception for 40 yards in that game versus the Rams, which was a high-scoring game, and he was just not part of that of it. Whether the Rams took him out or not, in the game against the Seahawks. Now that's the Seahawks, so it's tough to believe. But one reception for 5 yards. He had a 100-yard game in his second ever career game, and then again, it was a rough season. We wanted it to be him get incrementally better every week, and it just didn't kind of look like that. Now, whether that was a Bryce Young problem,
the thing is that you were talking about Bryce Young, how inconsistent he is. That's directly correlated to Bryce Young. And you mentioned the touchdown Story. McMillan. Tet finished top 9 amongst wide receivers last year in expected receiving TD 7.7, red zone targets 34th, and end zone targets 12. So 34 red zone targets, 12 end zone targets, and he was top 9 in all those categories. Which it was one of those where it didn't really come to fruition, but the usage was there, and I think it's going to grow from here. So he's going wide receiver 16. Jalen Coker, I'm a big cokehead. I don't know about you. Wide receiver 55. And then there's literally Chris Brazzell, and the tight ends are Jadavion Sanders at tight end 42 and Tommy Tremble tight end 50. None of those guys are getting drafted. So this is a very narrow thing, and there's no real running back. Again, that's why I love Chuba Hubbard, because
running back,
you look at this.
Right? So Dave Canales doesn't really use the tight end that much in his system, so you can go ahead and cross those guys off your list. I know a lot of people really like Jalen Coker. I thought it was a very inconsistent season from him last year. We'll see if Bryce Young can support 2 fantasy wide receivers. There's several games where Bryce Young threw for fewer than 200 yards, and I'm not sure that is sustainable when you're talking about trying to get 2 consistent. Tet is probably a wide receiver 2 on this team. Wide receiver 16 is a little rich. What you say, 16 or 14?
16 for Tet, 55 for Coker.
Yeah. So Coker feels like a bye week fill-in. I'm not sure that he's a guy that is going to be startable week in and week out.
Wide receiver 55. I hope he's a bye week fill-in. I got a Coker stat for you though. Jalen Coker's 9.8 yards per target over the last 2 seasons ranks 8th amongst 121 wide receivers with 50-plus targets. Now, a couple of those were broken play touchdowns, and it was limited sample. But we think of Jalen Coker as this big slot receiver, but he is clearly more than that based on the numbers and also the eye test. So that's impressive. Wide receiver 55. I much prefer Coker at 55, wide receiver 55, than Ted at wide receiver 16.
Again,
what does that do for you?
What are you realistically expecting from Jalen Coker? The guy had 400 yards receiving last year. He didn't have a game. He didn't have a single 100-yard game. He didn't have a game with more than 4 receptions, except I think the playoff game.
Playoff game, he crushed ass.
I mean, 6 for 47. I don't know that I would consider all
right, touchdown. Hit a touchdown, dude. Crushing ass.
That's one of 3 touchdowns on the year. I just don't know that there's I'm sorry. He did have a 100-yard game. I was looking at the last game of the regular season. In the Rams game, 9 for 134.
Suck it, Story.
So if we're going off that, he got so much better.
Okay.
Don't worry
about
that.
Receiver 51 or
55.
That's value, right?
Don't worry about that one game for 9 yards that he had. Don't worry about that.
Let's talk best ball. You like this wide receiver 55 in best ball, right?
Yeah, I think you have to. I know that I think he's probably being overdrafted. He will be overdrafted and redraft because there's a lot of pundits that are talking about Jalen Coker, and I'm just not on board. He feels like a big slot receiver to me, and without the catches, it just doesn't amount to much. The problem is they got nobody else there. They didn't really sign anybody in the offseason for pass catching.
All right. Tight ends. There's nothing here. Who's the starter? Sanders or Tremble, or it doesn't matter?
Doesn't
Give
matter.
me your starter though. Well, who's your starter though? Who's going to lead the team?
When was the last time a
receptions,
Dave Canales offense had a top 20 fantasy tight end?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, we can definitely do that. That is a great idea.
Those are the only kind I have.
I can hear my hair growing. You want some soup?
all right. Let me leave you with this. Give me the upside and floor of this Panthers offense. So, what is the absolute peak that this team? If Bryce Young takes another step up, if Coker becomes that 2, if Jatavion Sand, I'm kidding. What's the upside of this Panthers offense, and what's the floor?
In terms of like
Points per game. Points per game.
Oh, points per game. Man, it's still pretty low. Points like upside 24 points per game, and yeah.
No. You always say this. Rankings. Rank them. I don't care about the extra points. Like rankings in the NFL, like 10th, 15th, 12th.
Ah, man, the offenses are making some adjustments in the NFL. I would say upside top 14. So it's still not great.
What's the basement? 28?
Yeah, 28. Yeah.
So split the difference. You're projecting them to be the 21st ranked offense. I think I would lean to 14 more than 28 though. I think that Bryce Young is somewhat dynamic. I think he's the trial by fire Bryce Young has had to endure, right? And the noise and all those things. Like I feel like now he's actually proven that he's a starting quarterback in the NFL. And he was playing a little gun shy there early on, getting benched for Andy Dalton, bro. Like, dude, that's crazy. Like, what the fuck? Bench for Andy Dalton?
It's my team. It's my quarterback. And if you guys do that, man, it's unfair. We lost as a team.
I will say this. They did heavily invest in the offensive line, both through free agency and the draft. In fact, they might have like over-invested, if you can believe it. They got a lot of guys that they got a lot of like starting guards. So we'll see if Ikwonu is healthy. Like he dealt with a pretty devastating knee injury. But if this offensive line is healthy and if it gels, it should allow Bryce Young to fully maximize his potential. Now, whether or not he lives up to his potential, he's yet to put it all together for a full season. But the problem will not be the offensive line this year. They also did sign Devin Lloyd and Jalen Phillips. So the defense should be a little better. That's also why I think the offense is going to not have to be. It's also a pretty weak division in general. So there's a lot of factors that go into it, but they feel like a pretty middle of the road offense.
All right, let's move on to the Saints. Everyone's darling to win the division.
Yeah, I'm going to go.
6-11.
I got to go see a man about a lizard. I'll be right back.
All right. Storey has the bladder of a lizard, apparently. So I'll answer some questions before we get to the Saints. Hatcher says, it's Coke time. I love Jalen Coker. What's funny is I was telling everyone to hold on to Jalen Coker last year and store him in his their IR spot, and it looked bad. Coming back, he was 20%, 40%, 60% of the snaps, and it ended up being valuable, but not to the point. He had a nice run there in the fantasy playoffs. But I was very adamant about the fact there was no one on this roster, and I was not a Xavier Legette guy. We didn't even talk about Xavier Legette, which is just hilarious that it's been, and Jonathan Mingo's already on another team, but it was a rough draft. That's why I hate the Chris Brazzell pick. We didn't talk about Chris Brazzell either. Guys, don't draft Chris Brazzell. He is worse than Mingo and worse than Xavier Legette and probably worse than the dude they took out of LSU. So it's not going to work. So Chris Brazzell should not be drafted in best ball and definitely not in redraft. He is a Tennessee receiver, and he is also a guy with some major off the field concerns. Would not surprise me to see him get suspended or do something stupid and get benched. This has all the vibes of, I don't want to say Rashee Rice because it's different because he's actually been good in the league, but Andy Dalton, the chicken of the walk, the Red Rooster. Red Rooster, Red Rocket. We do love Andy Dalton, though. Pretty nice career. But my comp to Chris Brazzell is Jermaine Burton, which is the same guy that came in with crazy off the field stuff, personality stuff, bad body language, lack of hustle, not a team guy. And I think Jermaine Burton was definitely more talented out of Alabama, 2nd-round pick, I believe, in the NFL draft. Chris Brazzell fell past that. So I know it's a rough comparison because Jermaine Burton's never playing another down in the NFL. But I don't care. I'm not even my issue with Chris Brazzell is not as much the Tennessee thing. It is a Tennessee thing, but it's mixed that with the personality issues that he clearly has. If you watch his film, besides his highlights, you'll see the body language stuff, the lack of blocking. He only lined up 95% of the time in one position, which is outside, right side at X. And this is not the way it's going to work. Ted McMillan's an X, so he's going to have a huge adjustment in the NFL. So off him. And Xavier Legette we didn't talk about. So this is a very consolidated receiver room. So that's why I love Jalen Coker. And if people like Ted McMillan, I am not going to say you're crazy for liking Ted McMillan, but I think they're both in a good range. Ted seems a little aggressive at 16, but it's almost in that range where, you want to take the upside shot of a guy that was, I just don't know how much upside you have with Ted at 16. I just don't know how much higher could Ted finish at 16 tied to Bryce Young. Look at Bryce Young's Vegas projections. It's very low, guys. It's very low. And it's the yardage is like Lamar's yardage, but we know he's not throwing Lamar level touchdowns. And it's going to be Chuba Hubbard, baby.
Chuba.
It was either between Chris Brazzell or Muhammad. Should have taken Muhammad, bro. The first turban in the NFL, and that guy would score a touchdown before Chris Brazzell. JD True, wide receivers from Tennessee, from my memory, I've never done shit. Jawan Jennings is the best one we came up with, right? Best career. And he took 4 years to even do anything. That was mostly depth chart related, but.
And now he's relegated to like 3rd on the depth chart in Minnesota.
The cock of the walk, actually. My bad. Yeah, Super Chats don't let you say. They should, if anything, you should be able to say whatever you want in a Super Chat. You could do this thing, whatever you want to do. Because it's Super Chat, you should be able to, but YouTube is weird. So Andy Dalton, the cock of the walk, the Red Rooster. Pretty good career, though, for Andy Dalton. He's still there, right? Is he the backup?
Rocket? No. He's not in Carolina anymore.
Oh, the Panthers signed John Mechie, too. I love John Mechie. By the way, shout out John
Mechie.
Survivor. We love the cancer survivors here, and I kind of like John Mechie. It just has never materialized.
Yeah, Dalton's on the Eagles.
Kenny Pickett's their backup. That's worse. That's bad. So they have They have a quarterback. They have a quarterback that's 5'9", and their backup has hands the size of, I don't know, what's really small.
Tiny baby hands.
Tiny baby hands. There you go. I was trying to think of something, and you know what? Thank you, Storey. Miles says John Mechie the Panthers. There's the wide receiver 2 over Coker. I love Coker. Coker's 6'2". Coker's huge. Coker's good. I like John Mechie too.
Coker's a big guy, like 6'2", 213, I think he is. I do love John Mechie, though. I really hope that guy stays in the league for a while longer.
All right. Ready to move on to the Saints, dude? All right, Saints 6-11 last year. Like I said, everyone's darling to win the division and the dark horse, even though that much of a dark horse. But 6-11 last year, 306 points scored, 383 scored against. And for fantasy, they're going relatively high. We'll get into that in a little bit. I do have a really eye-opening stat. I'm sure you know some of this story, but when you actually hear it out loud, it sounds crazy. The 2025 Saints led the league in pace. Seconds per snap. Kellen Moore offense now is ranked in the top 4 in pace 6 of the 7 seasons he's been a head coach or offensive coordinator. That is what we want, right? Especially if you're trailing in games. More plays. You're going to get that with Kellen Moore, even when he's winning, which is not a smart strategy. He's fucking running the play, with 15 on the play clock, which we love, dude.
Yeah, compare that to a Aaron Rodgers led offense, and they're probably down at the league worst when it comes to plays per game, snaps per second, whatever it is. Yeah, Kellen Moore's always run a relatively speedy offense, and that is great. I mean, that's great for ETN. That's great for Shuck. That's great for Olave, and I think that's great for Jordan Tyson. All in all, like, the pieces are there. The kind of the holdovers from the Sean Payton, Drew Brees era are gone, right? Taysom Hill's gone. DeMario Davis is now gone. Cameron Jordan's gone. The only remaining holdover is Alvin Kamara. And that just feels like a don't ask, don't tell situation. Like, Kamara wants to be there. They don't want him to be there, but they're not willing to like piss off the fan base by cutting him yet. We'll see what happens. Yeah, they are they put off the rebuild for years. They've been in cap purgatory for years, but they're by prioritizing these older players previously, they have moved on from that, and now they're building around Tyler Shuck. So this is a youth movement for this team. I think it's going to be a step in the right direction, but this isn't a team that's going to vault immediately into double-digit wins. Playoffs are certainly on the table. Is this a team that has Super Bowl aspirations? I don't think so. I mean, it's an intriguing offense. It's all things considered, like I'm pleased with the way things played out in the offseason. I really like ETN coming on this team. I think that's a really big addition for fantasy. Not sure where he's being drafted, but the offense will be better, and they'll be contenders in the South. But I still think that they got a ways to go before they're a regular addition to the NFL playoffs.
Oh, we have Jonathan in here just rubbing salt in our wounds. He says Coker was a beast in the playoff fantasy league for me, and Ramondre too. So we took Tet McMillan for that very reason to have one good game, and Coker outscored him. And we took the bum of all bums in Travion Henderson, and you got Ramondre. So I appreciate you just telling us what's up. And you did. I think he won the league, so he deserves to kind of flex a little.
Good. Tell me
flex
everything.
On us, baby.
Okay, they were both here. They were both inside me. Eduardo was in my mouth and Luther was in my butt.
Oh my God, no, don't tell me everything. What? No, what?
Damn it.
Bonnie. Eduardo who?
Sanchez.
Holy shit, tell us more.
Then Luther went in Eduardo's butt for a while.
Tell us less. Tell us less.
Then they both completed on each other. I was left out of the finale.
Never get sick of that clip. It's my favorite. I think it's my favorite clip. It's just so out of nowhere and amazing. JD says one of the most ugly divisions of football. It is probably the ugliest.
We're getting them out of the way early.
Jonathan got second by 2 points, and that was not in. Yeah, well, second place is still pretty good. We didn't place because Travion Henderson scored like 14 PPR points in 4 games. We had the right process. We just picked the wrong running back, and wild stuff. All right, Tyler Shuck. So Tyler Shuck going quarterback 20 Storey, and that seems aggressive, but I got a couple stats for you, mostly this one. Across 9 starts, Tyler Shuck ranked 4th amongst quarterbacks in design rushing yards, and that was with Taysom Hill on the playing at least half those games. Remember they had the Taysom Hill game in his last home game there in New Orleans.
Yeah,
and take that game out of it, it's probably higher.
What?
Here's the top 4 guys, quarterbacks in design rushing yards, weeks 9 through 18. Jackson Dart, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Tyler Shuck 4.
Jackson Dart, okay.
4. I mean, look at the guys he's up there against. Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, and Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart was only running last year, and Josh Allen, that was the time where he was like, fuck it. He was hurt, but I'm going to fucking just run the ball myself. So
did he have a bone chip
nice.
removed? Did I read that? He had a bone chip removed in the offseason from his foot?
Josh Allen?
Yeah.
Oh, he probably had everything removed last year.
Swear to God, he had it removed. You know who's notably absent from that list was Lamar Jackson. I would have rather been starting Tyler Shuck near the end of the season than Lamar Jackson. That was rough.
Well, Lamar didn't play a lot of those weeks. That's why he's not on that list, and he missed a couple weeks, and he was also hurt when he was playing.
Yes.
So Tyler Shuck, quarterback 20. Are you in on that? Because I mentioned he has 37. His over-under on Vegas right now is 3,700 yards passing, which is like it's closer to like top of the pack than middle of the pack. It's like right there. It's way higher than it's higher than Caleb Williams, dude. Higher than Jaden Daniels. So, and you mix that with the set I just read you that he's a run first quarterback and he's an aggressive quarterback. They brought in Jordan Tyson. You have Chris Olave, second year in Kellen Moore's offense, super high paced. Seems like a value, right?
Seems like a value, but they didn't have anything comparable to a reasonable running game last year. They had Kamara played, 11 games, but he was highly inefficient last year and he didn't play the last half of the season.
Kendrick Miller gets hurt.
Yeah, Kendrick Miller was the guy for a little bit, then he got hurt, and then he was back, and Devin Lloyd really didn't step up. So you have
Devin Neal out, played a couple games.
Devin Neal.
And we had Audric Estime carrying up the caboose. I started him in one of those games. He had like fucking 20 PPR points, but
did he really?
That's gross. Yeah, he had a nice game. That's gross though.
Former Notre Dame's finest.
Notre Dame
Yeah.
And the Broncos let him go, which they essentially drafted his replacement there in Jonah Coleman. Same player, by the way. Audric Estime and Jonah Coleman, same player.
Jonah Coleman just inked his rookie deal the other day. Anyway, so I would like to be in on Shuck. I just have concerns. Now, the addition of Tyson should help. The offensive line is getting healthier. That should help. They added, what's his name? Kenneth Gainwell. That should help in the passing game as well. He's an excellent pass protector. So,
nope. Kenneth Gainwell's in the
sorry, Buccaneers. Yeah, I don't.
Same division. Yeah. Bad division.
Yeah, they're all floating all over the place. David Edwards. Yeah. So I don't know. 20 seems.
Let's hit the reset. Let's hit the reset button. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Way out of
so quarterback 20. We like that. Is it crazy to say if you take a late guy, if you're waiting at quarterback in a deeper league, or let's say super flex, is that an upside shot you're willing to take in super flex for a number 2?
Super flex, certainly. I think he's one of the better number 2s out there that you could draft. But in redraft, like how late would you have to wait for him to actually be a value? Like there's 19 other guys being drafted ahead of him. There's probably not 19 guys being drafted in regular redraft leagues. Or maybe there are.
Tyler Shuck or Baker Mayfield? Tyler Shuck or Baker Mayfield?
Baker Mayfield. Baker had the shoulder injury last year. He was hurt. He's playing through a bunch of injuries. He should be healthy, and he's got a really nice touchdown rate that I want to see again.
I would agree. Okay, let's move on to the running backs here. Travis Etienne or Travis A-Chain, whatever he wants to be called. It's Etienne, goddammit. RB16. And Alvin Kamara, RB55. So I have an Alvin Kamara stat. You've been talking about it recently, how bad he was. I want to put pen to paper here. Alvin Kamara ranked dead last amongst 51 qualifying running backs in Pro Football Focus rushing grade and dead last among 40 qualifying running backs in PFF receiving grade. He was dead in receiving. Alvin Kamara, dead. He's dead. He's gone. He's in the dirt.
So how do they come up with that grade? Because it was difficult to watch because they were not targeting Alvin Kamara in the passing game in the beginning half of the year,
and they were running him up the middle, which is just like, what are they doing?
Yeah, it was confusing to say the least. I don't know why. Anybody have any theories as to why they stopped using Kamara in the passing game last year? Let us know, because I have no idea what that is. But even at RB55, like Etienne is the workhorse back there. There's no question. I don't think Alvin Kamara's even as a backup. I don't think Kamara is worth rostering on your team.
Mouth. Okay, I will pay money for this. Saints had a great draft. Their O-line is healthy again. To be honest, they should have won 10 games last year if their O-line didn't get hurt week 3, and they'd have won the division. So do you think the offensive line is enough? And bringing in Etienne, we mentioned how ineffective Kamara was, and that could have been it's a combination of things, right? It's the offensive line plus him just disintegrating into dust. But is that enough with the Tyler Shuck stuff we talked about with bringing in Jordan Tyson? Like, you see the appeal for Mouth and some of these other people that are clamoring for not even that it could happen, that it's likely to happen. They win this division.
I understand it, and Tyson is a big addition to that team. That should open up things for Chris Olave. Shuck and Olave had a really dynamic connection last year, and Tyson's ability to get open should open up opportunities for Olave downfield. So on the offensive side, I definitely like it. I think there's some questions that remain on the defensive side of things. The interior of the front there has some questions. I would have liked to see another edge rusher be added as well. So I think Brandon Staley's got his work cut out for him on the defensive side of things. And I think that's what's going to hold this team back from winning this division is the defense. They gave up 383 points last year. And that's partially because the Saints at the beginning half of the year, they weren't scoring a whole lot of points. So teams didn't have to put up a lot, but 383 is a lot to give up. And they made some adjustments, but I don't think they made enough adjustments to vault this team into the lead.
Mouth, I just had an epiphany that actually, thank you for, this isn't about their offensive line, but I was saying that I picked the Bucs, and I might still pick the Bucs, but thinking about it, the Bucs have the best quarterback in the division. They also have Todd Bowles, who has Down syndrome. Like, that's not debatable. Okay. He does. Now he's a they have functioning alcoholics. Todd Bowles is a functioning Downs. It happens. He can go to the grocery store. He can bang his wife. He can do all these awesome things. He can't coach football, and he can't even coach a defense anymore. So who's the best coach in this division? And it's crazy to say it's Kellen Moore, but it is. And we talk about Ben Johnson. We talk about Liam Cohen. Liam Cohen made Trevor Lawrence into an MVP candidate last year, okay, in his first year. Kellen Moore, now Tyler Shuck is not the prospect that Trevor Lawrence is. I understand that, but he looked pretty good last year. Why aren't we siding with the best coach in the division? And is he the best coach in the division, I guess? Because I like Dave Canales.
I do like
Dave. I don't like Todd Bowles. And Kevin Stefanski is always really good at first-year places, but I don't know. When you get let go by the Browns, and I understand it's because the Browns faltered, but you know what? He was a part of that too. So if Kellen Moore is the best coach, maybe we should be putting some more stock in the Saints being the best team, right? Because the quarterback's not bad. I think there's a chance that Tyler Shuck's bad, and I'm a Tyler Shuck guy. I loved him coming out. CJ Stroud had an all-time rookie year. Everyone's like CJ Stroud, quarterback 5 in fantasy, all-time great, and he sucked the next year, at least statistically, and the defense carried him. So, like, if CJ Stroud could take a step back and Jaden Daniels could take a major step back, regardless of Jaden Daniels' injury story, Jaden Daniels was not playing good football before he got hurt. And now he had no weapons around him. Terry McLaurin, I get all that. I think Miles is onto something here with Kellen Moore. It's just we're betting on Kellen Moore here. And I'm betting against Todd Bowles.
Well, that's not hard to do.
You know what I mean? Like that's the thing is that we're betting against Todd Bowles. I think it's Bucks. Maybe I gotta move the Saints to 2 after thinking about it. Some of Mouth's comments. Mouth, we appreciate you. And this is why this show is great, guys, is because we do it live every single day, which most guys, Storey, don't have the balls to go live because they don't know ball. They stumble over their words. They fuck shit up. They also can't handle getting random questions thrown their way because they don't know depth charts. They don't know ball like we do. We do this shit live. I do this shit live every day. Hammered sometimes. I don't give a fuck. I put it out there. It's in the ether. I say dumb shit, and not in terms of I don't say dumb football things. I say dumb things that reflect bad on like my personal life.
Hog out. Whole hog out.
Rotten sex hog, he comes in the chat sometimes. Okay, let's talk about the wide receivers before we move on. Chris Olave, wide receiver 14. Jordan Tyson, wide receiver 31. And let's throw in Devon Vele, who I don't even have his listed here. It's probably like wide receiver 77. So Chris Olave last year averaged 1.63 yards per route with Spencer Rattler versus 2.37 with Tyler Shuck. So only 7 wide receivers with 50-plus targets top 2.37 for the year. This is a smaller sample, but this is also, you could say this is a Tyler Shuck stat. You say this is Chris Olave stat, or you could say this is a Kellen Moore stat as, he got his sea legs as a head coach, right? And got more comfortable and figured out what's going on with the offense, how he can move the offensive line and cover them up. That's really, really, really encouraging because, as you know, I had every share of Chris Olave last year. In the second half of the year, he was essentially Jamar Chase. It was awesome, man. He was catching touchdowns, deep bombs, consistent volume, you name it. So Chris Olave, wide receiver 14, dude, with Jordan Tyson there. Jordan Tyson, wide receiver 31. Which one's the better value to you?
I mean, wide receiver 41 is pretty interesting. What round would that be drafted in? Right, where's he going? 10th round?
No, 31. That's a starting wide receiver. Is probably gonna be round 6, round 7.
That's a little rich, man.
Chris Olave is round 3, right? Okay. Early round 3 for Olave.
8th overall pick. Like they invested heavily. They expect this team to take a step forward on offense. At the same time, like wide receiver 14, it feels like you're kind of drafting near Olave's peak. At his absolute high, right? Because he was buoyed by touchdowns in the second half of the year, which again is not necessarily a sticky stat, but a lot of games with a lot of receptions and a lot of yards. He was the only guy in town though. So I get that Vele had an okay season last year, but who else was catching passes last year besides Olave? It was
Juwan Johnson, tight end 21. Juwan Johnson, my boy.
Oh, Juwan Johnson. Yeah, but they drafted what's his name.
So instead of asking which one do you prefer, are they both values or I'm not on Chris Olave this year. I've taken shares in best ball. I just, it's that this is why you listen to this channel, guys, because I love Chris Olave. Storey, we were both the biggest Olave guys ever last year, right? That's all we talked about in the wide receiver end was Olave and Pickens. And I think I'm sour on both them. I mean, I like Pickens more as ADP because the upside in that offense and touchdowns than I do Chris Olave. They're going around the same range. I think Pickens is wide receiver 13. But we don't have to be married to these guys. This is redraft, guy. This is the beauty of redraft opposed to dynasty is we can change our opinions based on not so much new information, new ADPs. And this ADP, Chris Olave was going wide receiver 34 last year. Like, that's why it was free. And now what's funny is, yes, he didn't suffer a concussion last year. I hate to bring this up, but that's why a lot of people were sour off him was the concussion.
Concussions, yeah.
He still had all those have not gone away, guys. Just because he played 1 year, those did not go away. So I wasn't concerned about the concussions last year because he was literally being drafted like at the end of the wide receiver threes. It was a replaceable spot. This is not a replaceable spot. So I'm not saying I'm super concerned about concussions, but it's a tiebreaker for me, right? Like he's had 4 concussions.
Yeah, but the farther away you get from, I know that it is a cumulative thing, but the farther away you get from them, the less likely the severity will be higher.
I get it.
But they also added, I mentioned what's his name, Oscar Delp. They added Barry Brown. They added our guy Bryce Lance. Like there's other pass catchers here. Now Olave is the one. There's no question about that. But is he a 90% snap share kind of guy? Probably not anymore. I would say not, right? Like they added a lot to this this pass catching room. Juwan Johnson at tight end 20, whatever. Like you liked Oscar Delp more than I did, but you got to be realistic that Delp is going to eat in. They're probably going to run more two tight end sets. This is the way the league is heading. So I think I'm worried about just overall. I'm not really worried about the health concerns. That blood clot in the lung, that's such a weird random thing that
the concussion. So you're saying that so he's clear, so now you're not worried about Tua anymore? Now Tua is just because he's a couple years removed from almost dying on the field multiple times, he's fine? Is that what you're saying?
You ever accidentally masturbate to young pictures of your mom?
Who the fuck starts a conversation like that? I just sat down.
No, because Tua's brain got scrambled. So I think Olave's brain is fine. I think Tua's brain got actually scrambled, though.
Storey is now a neurosurgeon, so I love you. I'm just saying it's still another thing, another little like anti-Olave check mark, and it sucks for me to say because Olave made us and me in particular a lot of money last year, guys. But wide receiver 14, I think I'm drafting running back in that range, and I think I'm going to draft the guys going behind him. I'm going to have some shares for sure, but I just don't see the upside. I think it's going to be the same year he had last year. And if that's his upside, like you're looking at, he beats his ADP by 3 or 4 spots. That's not how you make money in fantasy. That's just my opinion.
I mean, like I said, he scored, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 touchdowns over his last 8 games. Like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 touchdowns over his last 8 games.
Yeah,
that's a lot, right? That's a lot.
He's not a touchdown guy, right?
Yeah. So you're kind of buoyed by touchdowns near the end of the season. Although like that 10 for 148, 8 for 119, like the yardage was there too. But that's what catapulted him into like a top 5 wide receiver on those last few weeks was touchdowns.
Yeah, and I think the last point on this Olave Tyson thing is whoever gets the full-time slot role or the majority slot role in Kellen Moore's offense is going to dominate. That is the key, and we're not going to know that. So if for some reason it is Jordan Tyson and they're going to go back to putting Chris Olave outside, which is where he was playing early in his career, it's where he played in Ohio State, that's an issue for me. He is not beating this ADP if he's playing X. Not happening.
Like I said,
Chris Olave is a top 10 fantasy quarterback.
Feels like you're kind of drafting him at his peak for me.
Okay, let's get to a couple questions. We got Mark in here. Shout out, Mark, OG of the channel. Appreciate you, buddy. JD says Todd Bowles. Mal says Vele was great last year. You know what? There was that stretch where Vele came on and Olave was actually doing nothing. And then once Vele got hurt, that was the Chris Olave stretch of top 5 finish after top 5 finish. So, that's one thing. Let's see. So here, one thing, I do have 2 different YouTube streams going on right now. I have the vertical and the horizontal. So some of you guys can't see each other's chats. Unfortunately, that's a downside of doing that, which is why I don't like to always do it. So just so you know, you'll see next to your name if you have a little tablet thing that's vertical, and if you don't, you're in the horizontal. Horizontal is probably a better viewing experience, but the chat will be going more, and there's 9 people in the vertical and 6 people in the horizontal.
Interesting.
Yeah, I just want to get more streams out there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Barry Brown, he's a kick returner though, right? We don't have to worry about Barry Brown.
No, not really. But I mean, I wonder what Bryce Lance, what his snap share is going to look like this year. I mean, I'm intrigued to see.
All right, we have a Jordan Tyson and Charbonnet for Casey Concepcion and Chuba Hubbard and 3rd round pick. Who wins the trade? So the Jordan Tyson side wins this trade, I think pretty easily, right?
Yeah, for me it is.
3rd round pick is nothing. We don't care about throw the 3rd round pick out, honestly. And Concepcion versus Tyson. Give me Jordan Tyson by a mile. I'm a Concepcion guy, but give me Jordan Tyson by a mile. And then, okay, early season stuff obviously is Chuba Hubbard, but he's going to get replaced whether it's by Jonathan Brooks or by someone in the 2027 draft. Like Chuba Hubbard, they did sign him.
I agree with that. Like they're going to slow play Charbonnet coming back, but he was a big part of their offense when he was healthy. So it would not surprise me to see him be a big part again in the late season and in 2027.
Storey, he kept Kenneth Walker off the field. Like Kenneth Walker was at like a 47% snap share rate. And I know they drafted Jadarian Price in the 1st round. Mark my words, that was a mistake. Jadarian Price is not very good. Yes, he has higher draft capital than what Kenneth Walker had. Kenneth Walker is an elite talent at running back. He's a tiny dancer. He's a knucklehead. He makes has some bad vision choices and can't stay healthy. But the point is, they love Zach Charbonnet. You saw it last year in the snap shares. You even saw it in the playoffs last year. Like if Charbonnet didn't go down, we would never have the Kenneth Walker run that he had. So
true.
Zach Charbonnet, they're going to ease him back in, and that's probably why they took a 1st-round running back for some insurance for Charbonnet. They want him long term. Charbonnet's still a young dude, so you're going to have to punt a little bit with the Charbonnet side. But like as much as we like Chuba Hubbard here, like running back 27 and redraft, like the upside's not there. You can replace Chuba Hubbard. Charbonnet will be a locked and loaded top 15 guy when he's healthy. If he's healthy this year or the future. And Jordan Tyson is a 8th overall wide receiver for the Saints. Concepcion's on the Browns. And they drafted Denzel Boston.
Top 15 with Jadarian Price there? That seems a little aggressive.
I'm not worried about Jadarian Price.
I mean, it might have to be.
Didn't Charbonnet have 10 touchdowns last year? Like,
yeah, that's why I said he's an integral part of that offense and he'll get touchdowns, but they didn't really use Charbonnet that much between the tackles or between the 20s last year. So
that's because they had Kenneth Walker. Jadarian Price is not Kenneth Walker.
Well, that remains to be seen. We don't know that, actually.
I do. I watched. We both had him pretty low. I had him at 4. Didn't you have him at 5? Or I had him at 5. You had him lower than me, Storey. You had him lower than me.
Where
what the hell? I'm taking notes.
I had him at 4.
I had him at 5. Okay. So we were both way lower on Jadarian Price than consensus.
Well, yeah, the consensus was 2 kind of by default. But I also had Le'Veon Moss in my top 10, so
he gone. We can't call Kenneth Walker the tiny dancer anymore. It's one of my favorite bits we had in the show. The clip, everything was awesome. But yeah, he says, okay, this is my bad, a mistake. Tyson and Chuba for Casey Concepcion and Charbonnet and a 3rd round pick. Does that change it for us?
That changes things a little bit. I would still taking
Tyson.
Yeah, I still take the Tyson side. It does change things a little bit, but it makes it a lot closer, I think. But I would still lean the Tyson side.
But if you're playing for this year, Tyson and Chuba is even better than Tyson and Charbonnet, right? And Concepcion is not great for this year.
Concepcion, he's not going to be much of anything this year. He'll have a few games here and there when Shedeur Sanders gets crazy, but realistically, until the Browns address the quarterback problem and pare down some of the pass catchers in that wide receiver room, Concepcion's not going to be an every week starter for you in fantasy.
Guys, 0 subs in this video. What are we doing? There's 10, I don't know, maybe 15 likes, 14 likes, 0 subs. I mean, this is elite content here with elite community. Sub to the channel. It's really easy. You hit that button. It's free. And then you can talk about joining the community later on, which is also a really good idea because we make a lot of money for a lot of people and the entertainment value. And you get to see Mike Storey's handsome, freshly shaven face and his 8th grade hair. And you get to hear me yell at him for mispronouncing things, which is always pretty fun. You can watch me drink a bunch of beers. So let's move on to the Buccaneers, huh?
Shall we?
Last team of the division?
Yeah.
We shall. Bucks preview here. Let me turn my page here of my notes. We have Let's get to the last comment here from OZ. This one's going to be really quick. So, well, at least one of them is really quick before we get to the Bucks preview. What's your thoughts on Joe Mixon and Tyreek Hill's future? So Joe Mixon's I don't think he's playing another down of football in the NFL. That's a very, very weird foot injury he had. He got outside surgery and opinions, which teams hate. He's old. He's going to come in as a depth piece. Like I think like the Packers should sign him. That's a team maybe. Other than that, it's not a good landing spot anywhere he goes. There's no one that needs him.
No, he's 2 years removed from an okay season. But yeah, he'll sign. I would bet he'll sign during training camp as a depth piece somewhere. He might, I don't know that, like he might end up on a practice squad. We'll have to see what the health is. Like, I don't know. Like I've never heard of that particular foot injury before. And it was such a weird situation the way it unfolded. Tyreek Hill, that one is even more murky. I do not know what to make of that.
Giants, Chiefs.
He's not going
a lot of sense.
He's not going back to the Chiefs. I don't think so.
Why not? Bring in another knucklehead there again.
Raiders seems like an organization that would take a shot on him.
It's a nasty injury, and I don't think he's even ready till like midway part of the season. So you got a guy that's known to be I'm not going to call him a cancer, but he's not a locker room guy.
He's a knucklehead.
You don't want him mentoring your young guys for one. Injury questions, age questions, production dip there. That might have been Tua as well. But for sure, I don't know about that one. But the last thought on Joe Mixon, how I know Joe Mixon's cooked is that Nick Chubb is an all-time elite athlete, right? Nick Chubb's an all-timer in my book. Joe Mixon and I love Joe Mixon. He is a product of volume. Very good running back. Nick Chubb, all-time running back. Nick Chubb was dust last year.
Where?
We're still looking at each other. Nick Chubb was dust last year. So Joe Mixon's even older than Nick Chubb and another injury removed. Like, there's no way Joe Mixon's coming back to anything we saw previously. We just saw Nick Chubb falter. So, like, I'm telling you, gone, done, over with. We shouldn't be talking about Joe Mixon anymore. I've been telling my wife this. She asked me about Joe Mixon literally every 2 weeks. I'm like, he's never going to be a fantasy relevant player again. Whether he signs or not, he will never be in a starting roster. I would bet you right now he's never in a starting roster again in a fantasy league. And if he is, your team is really bad.
It's the same with Najee Harris, right? Najee Harris was a startable player on the Chargers last year. He got injured. Like it happens fast for these running backs. Like,
thank you. Najee Harris is fine. Like the fact that Najee Harris is unsigned. Sorry, if you're the Lions right now, are you signing Joe Mixon or Najee Harris?
What's his prognosis for being ready for the start of the season?
Prognosis negative. Sorry. Dude, I don't care. Najee Harris is like 26 years old. Like Najee Harris is the only injury he's ever had besides a fireworks injury, which is fucking wacky. But like, I'm taking Najee Harris 100 times over Joe Mixon at this stage of their careers. It's not even close.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying, like, okay, if you got good injury on Joe Mixon and Najee Harris has a setback, that'd be one thing. Still not signed. These veterans, it comes fast for these guys, especially at that position. It's a violent position, right?
Have you read anything about Joe Mixon since week 6 of last season?
No.
Since like the preseason of last season, we haven't heard anything, dude.
I also haven't heard anything about Najee Harris.
Well, he is a pirate now. So he's got the eye injury. Yeah, give me Najee Harris all day long. And I'm saying Najee Harris is struggling to find work. That's how I know that Joe Mixon is gone. You can quote me on this one. I'll take this one to the grave. I also had said last year to everyone, do not draft Joe Mixon. He's not playing football this year. That happened. Like, I am pretty tuned in on this Joe Mixon thing because I love Joe Mixon. What about Steph Diggs? Is this a spot in the Chiefs for him with the issues they have with Rashee Rice? Is this a possible spot with the Bills? Is this a spot with the Patriots? What do we got with Stephon Diggs?
So he did
say be a contender.
He did say recently that he wanted to explore coming back to the Patriots, but this feels like a Bills signing to me. Or Chiefs. Chiefs would be a good one too. I don't know. I don't. Since he's been cleared of everything, he's got his pick, but he wasn't exactly the Stephon Diggs from Minnesota last year. He was
and he
good.
wore down. He wore down, bro.
Yeah. So I'm not. Let's hold off and see where he signs and what that does to the depth chart. He also might be Washington might be eyeballing him too because we still don't know what's going on with Brandon Ayuk.
That's a whole different story. OS says, I feel Brian Robinson Jr. should be RB1 somewhere. I don't know why the Commanders let him go. I mean, we're both big Brian Robinson guys, and we loved him last year. We had a bet that he was going to lead the league in touchdowns. That was 100-1 shots. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
He's in a fine spot. He's not a number one just because he's not versatile enough, right? And he's just a very boring plotting back. But that being said, I think he has a place in the NFL, and it's going to be as a backup. And he is a premier handcuff. I'm not touching him in best ball. But come redraft season, Story, I'll be taking a lot of Brian Robinson with my last pick. The problem is BJ Robinson has not missed a game since like Pee Wee football.
No, he's Iron
Man.
Man
Game there.
Brian, you remember James Robinson? Brian Robinson reminds me of James Robinson.
Yeah, James Robinson, who came off an Achilles like 8 months and dominated for 4 weeks, and then was never heard from again.
Well, he was
never heard from again.
He was a 7th-round pick or an undrafted free agent, and he had that great season with the Jaguars, and then he got injured, and he had, he came back. He was great for a little bit, and then never heard from him again. Like, he completely fell off the radar.
What are our thoughts on Addison? Is he still wide receiver 2, or has Jennings taken his role? He said Judy, but I know he meant Jennings. I'm actually even more bullish on Jordan Addison now because I think he's playing primarily in the slot, which is the only way Kyler can throw the ball to anyone is in the middle of the field, slot, tight ends. So I'm not worried about Jennings at all, and I still think Addison's playing in 2 wide receiver sets. That's just me.
I think he's signed here to be the third. He will be moved around the formation quite a bit, but when it comes to 2 wide receiver sets, I still think it's Jordan Addison. Now that's assuming that it's Kyler Murray. It could be JJ McCarthy or Max Brosmer.
Don't fucking say that. Oh Jesus, dude. And why I say I'm about Addison, I'm not saying he's gonna be better now that Jennings is there. I feel like you're gonna get a 20 ADP dip. So now, like, I was on the fence in the 10th round. If I'm getting 12th round for Jordan Addison, that's my wide receiver 5. Yeah, I'm in.
Where's Jennings being drafted in best balls now?
After Addison, probably 140s, 130s, where Addison's like in the high 1-teens, 117.
Yeah, I think that although he had some spike games in San Francisco, I think his output is pretty capped there in Minnesota. Whereas Addison, I think, is still on the rise. Like, this could be Addison's year to break out. They just need a quarterback to get the ball downfield.
Mark, how do we feel about Breece Hall in fantasy after the contract extension? I love it because my biggest issue with Breece Hall, beyond the fact that the Jets, even though the Jets have done a lot of good things this year, Story, was his motivation, how he's been so vocal about just wanting to get the fuck out of there. And he probably still wants to get the fuck out of there, but at least now he's a rich man, like a really rich man.
Take the money,
so
man.
He's going to just shut up and play football. And, he's going to showcase himself to other teams or stay there, whatever. They're building something. They have potential to be better this year. They will be better this year. Also, if they're middle of the pack, they have the draft capital to move up and get one of these elite rookie quarterbacks coming out, which we all know is a great class. So this team is on the up and up. Breece Hall's got paid. He's only 25 years old, 24 years old, 25 years old. This is a great thing for Breece Hall. So if anyone had any trepidation about drafting Breece Hall because of, he's disgruntled, I think that can be thrown out. Now, what you think about the offense and Braylon Allen's, potential role, that's a whole different conversation. But I am in on Breece Hall now.
I completely agree. I think the long-term contract has assuaged any concerns I'd have about his disgruntledness. And, with those guys get a little disgruntled, maybe the foot sprain lasts a week or 2 longer. You know what I mean? Because they're thinking about their future. He is a Jet for the foreseeable future, which is nice. I still think the quarterback situation is less than ideal. I think the coaching situation is what's going to hold this team back this year. So hopefully they find a new head coach, find an interim head coach by midseason, and they can go into 2027 with a fresh plan, and they get a nice high draft pick, whether that's Arch Manning, whether that's Lenora Sellers, whether that is who else is at the top of the list there? John Mateer,
Dante Moore,
John Mateer, the kid from Ole Miss, Trinidad Chambliss. Like, there's tons of great options for them. Like, they don't have to have, no offense to Geno Smith. He was very good in Seattle. He was less than good in Las Vegas. He'll be a fine bridge quarterback, but they need the future there. And that starts with a young quarterback.
OS says, big fan of your lives, Rob. God bless. More success for you, bro. CJ Stroud said the same thing to me. I felt like CJ, and I know that's legit what you're saying, OS. I feel like CJ Stroud put the curse on me. Like Stroud did not mean it because I've been a little bit hard on Mr. CJ Stroud. Who's the wide receiver one for the Dolphins? If it's Malik, he's quite undersized. There is no number one for the Dolphins. And Greg Dulcich? It's Devin Achane is the answer.
It is Devin Achane.
I've been saying this for a while now. Jalen Tolbert's going to lead this team in routes. He's going to lead the league in routes possibly, but he's going to have like 42 receptions, like 700 routes. So is it the third round rookie? Is it Coleman? It's not going to be Chris Bell, but it could be is it Chris Bell in the later parts of the season when he comes back from the ACL?
Yeah, you got to hope that he dropped for that very specific reason, but he was great at Louisville. We got to hope that he gets back to form. We never know with these guys. Usually, though, things are getting better. I don't know. There's like not a whole lot of talent there. I'm not quite sure what. Cedric Wilson's not there anymore, is he? Maybe he's not. He was a free agent last year or at the end of this year, right?
No, he's not there. Tutu Atwell's there though, but he's not a receiver.
Yeah, it'll probably be somebody that we're not even thinking about right now because it is such a disaster. They're going to win 2 games this year, so I wouldn't even be thinking about a wide receiver on this team. They're going to win 2 games.
Are you worried about Jennings coming off the injuries? And he made that very vocal. He was playing with 7 injuries. He says all the broken ribs and all that bullshit. Jennings also punches guys in the dick. So I'm not a big fan of Juwan Jennings. And I think he's also over the hill, and the injuries are taking a toll on him. He's a fine real-life player. For fantasy, he's not a factor for me in terms of taking things away from Addison and Jefferson, and also for himself. I'm off Juwan Jennings, even in best ball.
Oh, you're not even taking stabs on him in best ball? I mean, if Addison gets hurt,
too boring.
What happens if Jefferson gets hurt?
Dude, would you rather have Jalen Coker or Juwan Jennings?
Right now, okay.
In best ball.
Jalen Coker as is, or hypothetically, Justin Jefferson suffers a season-ending injury.
Ted McMillan suffers a season. What are you talking about? Get the hell out of here. Like, right now, as is, it's how we're drafting.
That's what I'm saying. Like, is there contingent upside? Like, can he step into the 2 wide receiver sets and be a fantasy?
He would never be the one, though. Where
if one of those 2 guys gets hurt.
Coker would be the one, though. Coker would be the one if Ted McMillan gets hurt.
Maybe.
Answer the question. Who is it? It's Jalen Coker, right?
Yeah, I mean, as it stands right now. But what I'm asking is there contingent upside with Jennings because you got 2 guys on that roster that could possibly get hurt, and he could vault him into a more like a bigger role.
So you can make an argument for every player in the history of the world because if said guy gets hurt, so Brian Robinson should be drafted in the 8th round because if Bijan gets hurt, he's the number 1 running back. Come on. No, we're not doing this exercise.
No, this is a legitimate exercise because because
if Ted McMillan gets hurt, then Jalen Coker is like a top 25 receiver.
Right, but there's
no world that Jennings is going to be.
What
you have 2 guys. You have 2 guys that get hurt.
That's what I'm saying. You got 2 guys. You double the possibility.
I guess this is wacky. I don't know. You just answer the fucking question. It's not hard.
If you remember what the question was,
the question is Ted McMillan. Oh, not that. You got me all fucked up, bro. Jalen Coker or Juwan Jennings?
It's been a
right
long
now.
week. It's been a long.
Who are you taking? Who are you taking in best ball? Who are you taking? Coker or fucking Juwan Jennings?
Yeah, Jalen Coker.
Okay, Jalen Coker goes 152 and Jennings goes like 140. So like he's going a round later. That's why I'm off Juwan Jennings. You see what I did there? It took a fucking minute to spit it out because you're going in all these different directions. My God. You know what? Get this man a drink.
A fur shrug with crocheted sleeves, a hat on a hat, a watch on your pinky toe. And nothing says, look at me, I've been places, like 2 lit road flares hanging from your sunglasses.
All right. That was funny. No, Storey's actually not fucked up right now. That's his problem. He needs to get a little more fucked up. He's had a long week.
This has been the longest week of this year for me. I am really looking forward to the weekend.
All right. Me too. Every day is a weekend for me, Storey. Let's move on to the Bucks. Let's go to the Bucks, and I'll get to everyone's question at the end of the show. Storey can leave, whatever he wants to do. Take a bath. Take a bath, Storey. You need a soak. You need a soak, Storey. Let's move on to the Bucks. 8-9 last year, a really disappointing 8-9. 380 points scored, 411 given up. That defense was atrocious. So give me your Bucks takeaways. We talked about it a little bit earlier. Give me the cliff notes on what you like, what you don't like. What's the upside of this team? And is the floor still 8 wins?
I mean, this team started out 5-1 last year, and they ended up 8-9 overall. They were loaded last year on both the offense and the defense in a number of different positions, but like they couldn't put it all together. Injuries were the name of the game, but don't forget, like they couldn't. Like that defense you mentioned was atrocious. Like they couldn't rush the passer. That was a huge weakness last year. Cornerbacks were a weakness. They did get rid of Levante David and Jamel Dean. Now, David was getting older there, so that's not a huge loss. The addition of Ruben Bain should boost this defense in and of itself. Todd Bowles is on the hot seat, but if they can just keep things together a little bit on defense and get back to form on offense, Kenneth Gainwell is a nice addition to the running back room. That's going to be a headache for fantasy, I think. I do like Ted Hurst going there. I think he's going to be a nice real-life addition. He won't be a fantasy factor this year. We like Ibuka to take a second-year leap forward. Godwin is still there, right? We're not that far away from Godwin being a dominant fantasy player there. They got younger in the offseason, which you like to see, but it's you're banking on inexperienced players. So the floor is still 8 games, right? But the upside is 12 games, 12 wins. So the floor is 8, upside is 12 to 13. If Baker, healthy, puts it all together, gets back to a high touchdown percentage, I think they can win double digits at least, if not win 12 or 13 games.
Schedule is pretty favorable as well. Baker Mayfield, quarterback 19. I mentioned Tyler Shuck was quarterback 20. Baker Mayfield stat for you here. 39% of Baker Mayfield's throws into the end zone resulted in touchdowns last year. That was down from 53.2%. So he was throwing half of his throws in the end zone in 2024 resulted in touchdowns. Only 38% were touchdowns last year. So what's his more sustainable? I know his 2024 was very, very high touchdown rate, almost unsustainable, and we saw it dip. Is it going to be closer to 53% or 38% next year?
Probably right down the middle, I would say. Right, last year was a disaster. He got hurt early. He also dealt with that shoulder injury for which he should have sat out a game or two, and he kept playing through that. I would guess, but again, the unsustainable touchdown of 2024 is incredibly difficult to repeat. They're outliers for a reason. But quarterback 15, like that just feels like free money. Like we forget how good Baker was in 2024. Again, I know that the touchdown rate was wholly unsustainable, but if you get anywhere close to that, he should absolutely pay off. He's not afraid to take off and run either. He's a bit of a scrambler.
And that's kind of been his demise, though, because he doesn't get down. He likes to lower his fucking head and then also headbutt people without a helmet on. 2024, 47 attempts in the end zone, 25 touchdowns, unreal stuff. Last year, 36 attempts, so the attempts were down 14 touchdowns. And if you recall, I think the first 5 weeks, I would bet that 6 or 8 of those touchdowns were the first 5 weeks. I know Ibuka had 4 of them. And so if you just go in a smaller sample and go the last 10 weeks of the season, it was even worse than the set I read to you. So I feel like that was a lot of injury stuff with Mike Evans being hurt and Ibuka playing hurt, and him, Baker Mayfield himself playing hurt. So I think it's somewhere in the middle, but I think it might even be closer to 2024 just because he is a gunslinger. And, that the stat is true that he has the most interceptions since 2018 of any quarterback. And I don't hate that for fantasy because a lot of leagues are only -1, -2 for a pick. Like, all that does is get him back on the field trailing and throwing more with Baker's mentality.
Well, it actually it's not great for fantasy, but it's not horrible for fantasy when you consider like, all right, you end the drive immediately, but usually a interception is going to, not usually, but sometimes you end up in positive territory for the defense there. So Brett Favre threw a lot of interceptions, right? Brett Favre used to throw a ton of interceptions. It didn't really matter for either the team or for fantasy. If we can it feels like Baker was being overdrafted last year, and I think that is very clear. But it kind of feels like he's being underdrafted this year. I mean, quarterback 15.
Definitely.
Yeah.
19.
19. Good God.
You can't even wrap your head around that.
I can't because where was he being drafted last year? Quarterback 6?
Yeah, 6 to 8.
Yeah. No, I don't think he's going to end up the 6 to 8 quarterback, but quarterback 12, quarterback 10, is either one of those out of the realm of possibility?
He should have been drafted quarterback 12 last year, and he should be drafted quarterback 15 this year.
Okay.
And you know what I'm saying? Like, but that's 4 off. That's 4 off both ways. And this year, I'm definitely going to take the discounts. You went ready for some Bucky Irving slander because this is bad.
Yeah, bad.
Very bad.
We got to definitely write a song about how we do not diddle kids. Do not diddle kids. It's no good diddling kids.
There is no quicker way for people to think that you are diddling kids than by writing a song about.
You ready for this? Bucky
Always.
Irving did not get a single carry inside the 5-yard line last year. Sean Tucker and Rachaad White combined for 9 in Irving's 10 games. So in the 10 games he played, Rachaad White's getting fucking goal line work. Like the Sean Tucker thing aside, like that was probably on a third down, but like what's going on here? That is damning. And the same, now you have essentially a better version of Rachaad White coming in there and Kenneth Gainwell, and Sean Tucker's still there. So like you cannot have this as even an RB2. You can't have your RB2 not getting goal line carries. He's not a burner either. You can't have it.
No, I mean, what happened to the Bucky Irving we saw in week 4 or 5, where he 200 some total yards and touchdowns and long receptions, etc. I mean, where's he being drafted right now? Running back 18?
Running back 21. It is falling.
Okay, so it was in the teens earlier this season. I know that.
Yeah, people are wising up.
I mean, the ADP's down from last year. I mean, that reflects his points per game finish, which I believe was, I believe in his fully healthy games, he was RB18 last year. But it still seems optimistic. RB21, right? Like Rachaad White finished RB41 on this team in a points per game basis, and Sean Tucker on a points per game basis was probably around there too. Like there's just, this is going to be a nasty. Bowles likes running. Sean Tucker doesn't get a ton of work, but he does enough just to get annoying.
You ready for the second part of this stat that's even worse? Bucky Irving ranked bottom 2 amongst 51 qualified running backs last year in yards per carry, rush yards over expected per attempt, and yards after contact per attempt. He ranked 4th, 1st, and 6th in those metrics in 2024. So a big part of it was a shoulder injury he sustained against the Eagles. You mentioned on the previous shows about his mental health stuff, how it took him so long to come back. And so what is the real Bucky Irving? Would the real Bucky Irving please stand up? Because this is really, really, the disparity here is crazy. Like we're talking about 4th, 1st, and 6th compared to bottom 2 and all the things I just mentioned.
Yeah.
This also counts as early season stuff, which he was doing better early season. He was playing better.
He was
getting
playing
a lot of usage.
He was playing a lot better, and I'm convinced that there was something holding over from the injury. But the other downside, so the upside is they got a new offense coordinator there this year, which most of the time we'd be like, that's not good for the quarterback. He's getting a new one, but Baker Mayfield's had more offensive coordinators than most people have had, freaking cavities in their lifetime. He goes through them every year. But so Zach Robinson's coming over. He loves using pass catchers, running backs as pass catchers. He loves drawing up screens, dump offs, wheel routes. He loves using backs in the passing game. So that's great for Bucky Irving from fantasy. But Kenneth Gainwell is also an excellent receiver there too. So they're probably going to
3rd in receptions last year, I think, of all running backs.
Probably going to split that work as who's second. Achane was first, but who was second?
Bijan.
It was Bijan? Oh, damn.
Oh, yeah. So I got a phrase to do like this because I want to figure out this backfield. So Bucky Irving, RB21, Kenneth Gainwell, RB39. Let's not talk about Sean Tucker. He essentially is a double handcuff and mostly just a thorn in their spines, specifically Bucky's spine. Gainwell's going to have his own role. He's going to have the Rachaad White role, but Gainwell's better than Rachaad White. Rachaad White is more of just a
White role plus. I think Bucky's going to do more in the passing game too. But Zach Robinson was the guy who loved using Tyler Algier on the goal line when he had Bijan Robinson there, right? So does that mean that Sean Tucker's role increases in the red zone?
So I want to talk about this from a snap share perspective because this is how we can really dive in, and we can't delegate, I guess we could delegate the goal line work's probably going to Sean Tucker. We can't delegate the snap share, but I want to try to figure it out. So here's what the rundown was to end the year last year, Story. We had Rachaad White. I didn't add in 13 because 13 was his first week off injury coming back. We had Rachaad White 49%, 42%, 39, 48, 33. That's going to be Kenneth Gainwell, right? Bucky Irving 49, 54, 63, 54, 63. All that being said, Bucky decent snap share, like more than Derrick Henry. I know it's not exactly a 1-to-1 comparison, but it was, let's say, 58% on average for Bucky Irving. And they do play Rashad White and Bucky Irving at the same time. I'm sure they're going to have a lot of snaps where it's Bucky Irving and Kenneth Gainwell. But I think Gainwell's going to play more than Rashad White did last year. So, and we saw Bucky Irving not return value even at RB20 down the stretch with this snap share. So is this pretty accurate? Do you think this is what we're going to see? The pretty much, let's call it 55 to 60% Bucky Irving and 40% Kenneth Gainwell. Is that fair, or is it a 50-50?
And Gainwell is a really good receiver, and they do like using the running backs in the passing game. Does 60-40? Is that what we're thinking? Like that's how it ended up. But Bucky Irving was getting the low calorie touches, right? The between the 20s, wasn't getting pass catching work and wasn't getting the stuff in the red zone, especially on the goal line. So if it is 60-40, 65-35 again, say it's 60% Bucky and 40% split between Kenneth Gainwell and Sean Tucker. Does it matter though if it's all between the 20s, low, not really good for fantasy kind of work?
No, and also you got to look at Sean Tucker with his tiny little snap share there, but he was a factor because he was getting all the high leverage goal line stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like, what are we talking about Bucky? Like, I'm out, and I think we're both out on Bucky Irving. Unless he goes to like RB 24, 25, then I'm in, because you have the potential for injury, and maybe he gets back to his form as a rookie, which was elite. I read the stat; it was elite. But Kenneth Gainwell also is coming off an epic year. And I still think Kenneth Gainwell, let me ask you this. Kenneth Gainwell was, Aaron Rodgers' favorite player. He was his bestie. Aaron Rodgers refused to get hit last year, so he was checking the ball down a bunch. Now, Gainwell did a lot with those receptions. What's the real Kenneth Gainwell? Is it last year, or was it not snap share wise, but in terms of ability? Kenneth Gainwell was fine with the Eagles, but he was like fucking a lightning rod with the Steelers. So is it somewhere in between, or is this the new Kenneth Gainwell that we saw last year? Is this what he is going to be? A better version of Rashad White?
Yeah, I think it's closer. I think he unlocked a little bit last year because we saw flashes of that when he was with the Eagles. Remember week 1 of the 2024 season where Gainwell absolutely, was it week 1? No, the 2023 season. One of the years where like he popped off like out of nowhere. Very early in the season. And
well, do you remember the week that he filled in when Jaylen Warren got sick or something overseas, and he filled in that London game, and he had 3 rushing touchdowns and like 27 touches? So I feel like that I know it was a 1-game sample, but like the fact that the Steelers gave him like 25 or 27 touches in a 1-game sample as a starter kind of proved, and he's the same size as Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving's tiny, guys. He's 190. So it's not like Bucky Irving is this 3-down body mass type player. He's not. And he actually, even his rookie year, was mostly on the back of like 14 or 15 touches. That's kind of how you want to use Bucky Irving. The difference was Bucky Irving was getting the goal line snaps his rookie year, and he was much more explosive, and all the metrics were amazing. So it's just a really hard. So who do you prefer at value, Bucky RB21 or Gainwell 39? It's easy Gainwell, right?
It's an easy Gainwell, yeah. So it was the 2023 season when Gainwell started out. He was not the lead back per se, but he had 14 touches 2 games in a row to start that season. So that
was the Swift year, right? That was
when Swift, like everyone was in on Swift, and then he eventually like very quickly became the guy. But yeah, so we saw it a little bit with Philadelphia, and then he was certainly unlocked. So give me Gainwell at 39 all day long.
I agreed, man. I wonder how that's going to shift when the season comes, because Bucky's still not healthy. I mean, it's wild. The shoulder injury is still flaring up, and there's a lot of time to right that, but we got to see how it moves here once the season comes closer. Let's move on to the wide receivers. Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver 19. Chris Godwin, wide receiver 41. Jalen McMillan, wide receiver 61. And Ted Hurst, all the way down at wide receiver 73. So we've chatted about this ad nauseum, Story, about the Egbuka groin injury suffered in, I think that was at Lions game, week 5. And he was never the same after that. That also being paired with Baker being hurt from week 7 on. But the stat I have for you is 74% of Egbuka's targets through week 6 last year were catchable. That plummeted to 50% from week 7 on. I mentioned week 7 Baker injury. So and Egbuka played bad. He was dropping passes. He was just not looking explosive, not being in the right spot. It was he looked like a rookie. He looked like Julio Jones the first 4 weeks, and he looked like God, who was that clown on the Steelers that I'm thinking of? Martavis Bryant. It's like Martavis Bryant, the back end of the year. So that does, the injury with Ibuka, obviously the injury with Baker, and the set I just read that 74% of his targets were catchable when he was dominating and 50% down. But can't stats be misleading, Story, where it's like maybe some of this was Ibuka wasn't in the right spot? You know what I mean? Like it's hard to just anyone throw out stats. I'm just trying to dissect what this means for Ibuka. And wide receiver 19, is there upside built in with that ADP with no Mike Evans?
Yeah, I mean, no Mike Evans. We don't expect that Ted Hurst is going to immediately fill into that Mike Evans role, although he is very similar in body type. I think there's upside still. You look at that catchable target rate, and I think that's the most condemning stat that we saw for Ibuka to close out the year. Is he completely blameless? No, he was probably dealing with injury, and he probably, there's a lot that goes into this, but Godwin at 41 is also kind of intriguing too. Like we're not that far off from Godwin being, like I said, a really good fantasy asset. So if they, getting rid of Mike Evans opens things up in the red zone for a lot of guys, whether that's Big Boo or Godwin remains to be seen. Like I don't think Hurst is going to be a really nice addition from a real life perspective. I don't think that he will be a fantasy factor this year.
Yeah, man, I'm trying to think of why does I prefer Godwin at 41 than Ibuka at 19, right? Is that an easy one for you?
I mean, yeah, like.
Okay, let me phrase it like this. This is the way to cut through all the bullshit here. If the Fantrax public leagues we played, Story, you played with me and that I play, it's a 12-team league, standard PPR, 3 receivers and a flex. Obviously, you prefer your flex to be a wide receiver. So wide receiver 36 is right at the cutoff of wide receiver 3s, but you have, some teams flexing running back. So wide receiver 41 is right at that flex line. Would you be comfortable going into the season with Chris Godwin as your flex? If you took an earlier quarterback or tight end, or you took our robust RB, Chris Godwin as your flex to start the year, obviously the rest of your roster is probably pretty stacked and it's full PPR. Are you comfortable with that?
I don't know if I would be comfortable with that. It was, is he fully past the injury that kept him out for a good chunk of last year? Like, is he fully past that as well?
He wasn't last year because the film was awful. It was awful last year for Godwin. It was, I remember during the first live stream after the first game when Godwin came back, it was encouraging because he played a lot of snaps because they needed him, and he had like 12 targets, but he caught like 4 for 50, and everyone's like, Chris Godwin's back, 12 targets. I was like, did you watch the game? Because I watched the game and I saw a guy limping out there, and then lo and behold, a week later he was out for 4 weeks.
You're talking about the Philadelphia game, right?
I don't know exactly what game it was, but yeah, it might have been Philadelphia. It was 12 targets, 50 yards, and it just looks bad. And then he came back. He looked a little better after the second injury, after the setback. And they said it wasn't a setback Story, but we know it was a setback. They brought him back too early because Mike Evans was hurt and Ibuka was hurting.
Yeah.
I think that was just a lost year for Chris Godwin. That's what I'm going to call it. And you know what? Our moron buddy Todd Bowles, the injury should have never happened. Remember the original injury in 2024? They were down by fucking 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, and Chris Godwin's out there. It was the same game that Mike Evans got hurt earlier, and they still have Chris Godwin on the field, and he breaks his leg. I had Chris Godwin everywhere that year. He was literally wide receiver 5 in PPR for like 7 weeks. And I was watching this game. I was like, okay, I'm going to win I had him everywhere, right? At Chris Olave level. And Mike Evans gets hurt. Multi-week, I was like, he's already wide receiver 6 with Mike Evans. Like, this is amazing. And then they're down 3 scores, and I love the extra points he was getting. But like Todd Bowles, I hate this story. Like, pull your fucking veterans. He needs work. Chris Godwin needs work out there. He needs to mesh with Baker Mayfield. Get the fuck out of here. I was so pissed.
Like I told you,
he's never been the same since.
Bowles is one of the worst in-game coaches in recent memory. I do have lingering concerns about the injury. Like he had, even when healthy, he had 1 game over 100 yards last year. He had plenty of targets when he was playing. But, the yards per target, the yards per reception, the yards per route run were all like career lows for Godwin outside of his rookie year. He had 1 catch for 8 yards in the last game of the season. Like you said, the film was not ideal. So and he's older now. He's going to be 31 years old when the season starts. Like, So I'm just not sure that there's enough left in the tank for Godwin for him to make a difference. This feels like Egbuka's team now.
Yeah, you're not a little worried about wide receiver 19 though after we saw last year. Like there is upside, but isn't there like a bad floor of like wide receiver 26, wide receiver 30?
Where's he being drafted? 4th round, 5th round?
Wide receiver 19 is typically 3-4 turn.
Man, yeah, that worries me. I'm not really like, if you were to take ADP out of it, like agnostic, I think I really like the upside for Bucky or for Egbuka. But at 3-4 turn, even in the 4th round, there's a lot of valuable talent there. It's a difficult one but I'm not sure that Godwin would ever crack my lineup. Like realistically, he feels like a veteran you draft because he feels safe. But like, are you going to be comfortable starting him in week 1?
Yeah, if I have a stacked team and he's my wide receiver 4 as a flex, because the wide receiver 41, which I think he'll fall later because people are going to be like, this is old and boring stuff. Yeah, dude, I think he's going to be safe for 5 for 50 every week, which is 10 points. Like, I just don't know how much more. Egbuka has a touchdown upside. I get that. But, dude,
Yeah.
Baker loves Chris Godwin, and Mike Evans is not there. Like, there's no reason there should be a 22 wide receiver gap between Egbuka and Godwin. I'm sorry. In PPR, no way. No way.
Godwin had games of 2 for 9, 4 for 20, 5 for 30, 1 for 8 last year. It was rough. Like, it's you could probably survive a 1 for 8 in your flex, but ideally I wouldn't want to start him without knowing that he's fully past this injury in week 1.
Jonathan says they're moving him to Z now, which is better for his profile. 100% agree. I'm pretty sure Jonathan drafted Egbuka, and he's trying to justify his pick, which we all do it. I love it. Dude, I love the upside of Egbuka. In Dynasty, dude, he's 23 years old. Like, he was a pro. He was a pro coming out. Whatever happened at the end of the year, it wasn't all on him. I just, this year for redraft, man, like, I'm going to have some shares. I'm not a big Egbuka guy. I didn't like him coming out. I thought he was overrated. And it was the same with Travion Henderson. Everyone's like, this guy's the GOAT. And I'm like, no, he's not. And you know what? I actually I had him in one league, or a couple leagues last year because of you, Storey. You loved him, right? He was your Carnell Tate. And I was really low on Egbuka.
But he got forced into playing that X role last year for like a good chunk of the season, and that's not where he thrives. That was Evans's role, and with Evans out and Godwin out to start the season, like, it was great for the volume, but like overall, it's not where you want him to be. You want him to be a slot flanker. You want him to play Z and move inside if you can. You don't want him being that sacrificial X, right? Give that to Ted Hurst this year. Give it to Godwin. Let Egbuka be the dynamic playmaker.
Do you want to hear the funniest fantasy trade and saddest thing ever? In one of my home leagues, I had Egbuka, and right after, I think it was week 4. So I think it was after week. When did Neighbors get hurt? That was week 5 or week 4?
It was
right around then.
It was October, so it had to be week 5.
Week 5. So it was after week 4, and there's no flex in this stupid ass league. And it was 3 receivers, 2 running backs, 12-team league. So I had all this depth, and I had Jordan Mason as like our RB4, and that's right when Aaron Jones got hurt. Egbuka was dominating, and Egbuka was my wide receiver 3. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to sell high on Egbuka. You know my thoughts on Egbuka in general, like sky high, right? So I traded Egbuka and Jordan Mason for Malik Neighbors. I'm like, dude, this is awesome. Like, because there's no flex. I was like, this is the greatest trade ever. And obviously, you saw what happened with Egbuka down the stretch, which might have been injuries regardless. And literally, first quarter, next game, Malik Neighbors tore his ACL. And I'm just like, come on. But actually, it wasn't that bad because Egbuka was unplayable the rest of the year.
Well, it was worse than that because Egbuka was being drafted as a wide receiver 2, near wide receiver 2 to start. And like after the bye week, like, and after he came back, like, you felt compelled to start him. I mean, if you were sharp, you got off of him and you held on to him, hoping that it would return to form. But a lot of people, like, when you draft that guy and you've got that emotional investment, like, you keep starting him week in and week out, hoping that you can reclaim the glory because you're not, sunk cost. You shouldn't have.
The snap share was still there, Storey, and Mike Evans wasn't there, and it was like, this has to be better. But we weren't factoring in the offense was broken, Baker was hurt, and Egbuka was hurt. But like, I in the other weeks I still had him. I still started him up until like week 13. That eventually I was like, this is stupid. Then Evans came back. I was like, I'm off of him. But that trade was just the perfect fantasy football trade of like nobody won that trade. Even though I'm telling you, Storey, I won that trade though, right? Like, if the injuries didn't happen, like Neighbors in a no flex league for Egbuka and Jordan Mason.
Well, if ifs and buts were candies and nuts, and we'd all have a married Unterdankfest.
You get what I'm saying, though. It was just I was celebrating, and then of course, fucking just butt fucked, man.
Yeah, I mean,
neighbors.
Hopefully, he says he's on track for week 1. We'll see.
Well, it's one of those trades where it's like that's the definition of that's how I play fantasy, and sometimes it doesn't always work out. But you buy you sell high, you buy low. Like that's the most definition of like neighbors are struggling. You know, Russell Wilson was playing quarterback there. I knew Jackson. I was like, this is Malik Neighbors, 10 targets a game. I don't care what the offense is. I was like, I took a 7th round asset and just got literally Neighbors was a 1st round pick last year. I was like, that's just the, and I gave up Jordan Mason. I don't care if Jones is hurt. Jordan Mason sucks. And it didn't work out.
No,
obviously.
Not yet.
Unfortunately, Neighbors plays in literally a dirt track where everyone's ACLs just get destroyed. And 2 teams happen to play there. 2 teams.
And ironically enough, they are actually putting in turf for when they play World Cup games at MetLife Stadium. So the NFL is like, here's all the cheap plastic you can play on, and then for the World Cup, be like real grass.
Why are they doing that? Like, what is the
FIFA's
why doesn't the NFL just change it?
FIFA's got a lot of money, and I'm guessing that some AstroTurf company has paid a lot of money for their product to be at MetLife Stadium.
But you know how wild it is that 2 NFL teams would have to split the cost. It's not just one team. It's split. It's like me and you, Storey, investing in the pod. Like, opposed to just me investing in it, it's 2 ways. And the Giants and Jets both play in that stadium. It's 2 ways. So if it's $20 million, it's $10 million per team. If a team like the Bears did it,
it's a 50-50 joint venture between the Giants and yeah. Huh.
Exactly. So why wouldn't they just split the fucking bill? What is up with these cheap ass owners, dude? Their players are investing in, they're gonna die. Like,
yeah, man. I wouldn't want my team playing on that, but I
don't want my fantasy players going on that. And like we should maybe use that as like a tiebreaker with some of these fantasy players. Like, do they play at MetLife or do they not? Because if they are, you have what do you think? 20% more chance to tear your ACL?
Oh no, it's not 20%. Come on. If it was 20%,
not that high.
I mean, there's probably some recency bias or primacy bias going on, but it's not 20% higher chances to tear an ACL.
I'm also going on what the NFL players say, and a lot of them fucking hate it.
They do hate it.
They are very vocal about this shit, dude.
There was a lot of kerfuffle when about this being grass for the World Cup games.
Also, maybe New York, step up your game. You have 2 teams, buy a dome, get a Jerry World up in there. It's in New York. The weather is pretty shitty. Like, get a dome.
Purists will say that football should be played outdoors in cold weather arenas.
Or you could have a Jerry Dome situation where you have the glare coming off the window.
I would prefer that every team either had a dome or a retractable roof. Like, let's eliminate the weather when it comes to fantasy kind of stuff, but we're viewing it from that lens.
It's a requirement for the World Cup to be played on real grass. Guess it was in the contract to get the World Cup here. Well, it should also be a requirement that the players' safety should come first, and we should have the best product in the field. And like, let's do that. The NFL isn't it the most lucrative of all? Maybe soccer, maybe the Premier League is more, but it's up there.
FIFA dominates when it comes.
In American sports, the NFL is by far the highest.
But worldwide, FIFA absolutely crushes in terms of value. Soccer is the biggest sport in the world.
I don't acknowledge that story.
I'm just telling you what the realistic.
Technically, no. Hell, it's football. That's actually football.
Football. Yes, football.
Yeah. I don't acknowledge it. I don't acknowledge that. It's not real. Bunch of pansies out there running around with their short shorts and
shin guards.
I'm thinking of Tommy Boy, where it's like that's when the whores come in, running around with their little shaking their behinds. And he's like, I visited a prostitute once during the war, and I haven't heard the end of it in 60 years. I go to a soccer game once, Storey, and yeah, I'm not into soccer. Blake loves soccer. I don't know if he's still in here, but
well, he's got a lot to look forward to this year. World Cup and all that fun stuff.
You don't follow it, right?
I mean, I keep tabs on the World Cup while it's going on. I don't follow it like any of the qualifiers or anything like that. These like World Cup, the way it gets built up, those are actually halfway enjoyable games to watch. You can keep the Premier League, you can keep La Liga, Bundesliga, whatever. I don't care about any of that. But or the Gold Cup, the CONCACAF or whatever it is. But the World Cup, okay, it's fine. Although the problem is, like, if you support FIFA and you support the World Cup, like, you support human slavery, and there's a lot of terribleness, corruption that goes along with it. So, it cuts both ways.
Hatcher says 40% Bucky, 40% Gainwell, and 20% Tucker. No, it's not going to be that much Tucker because we looked at the snap share earlier. Like, Tucker doesn't, his numbers and fantasy numbers don't correlate with his snap share, right? Like,
yeah, they don't.
He's going to have like a 10% snap share, and the thing is, there's more than 100% to go around because they will play 7 to 10 snaps with two running backs. Specifically, would be the two pass catchers, Gainwell and Bucky.
I don't know, man. Like, Zach Robinson doesn't play a lot of two running back sets.
Well, I'm going off last year, right? So you see some of these numbers here, and we can go to, let's see, games where we had,
well, here you go.
48, 54, 6. So that's over 100%.
Yeah, that's 108% right there.
We have 103%. We have, okay, so it's not much over, but still more than most teams would do.
Yeah.
We're splitting hairs, though.
Yeah, 10%, maybe 10%, maybe.
Imagine if the NFL had a team for almost every country like soccer does. Well, we're going to play on every country. We're going to play in every country soon enough.
Yeah, they just talked about expanding the number of international games in 2027 and beyond. So that's not including even the Jaguars games that are slated to be, because they're going to get 3 games in London two or three games in London every year. So they're expanding international beyond. It sucks, man. I hate having to have stuff ready for fantasy at 8:30 in the morning on Sundays.
Well, you're part of this too, because you usually come on Sunday night, but like my schedule on Sunday is usually, if there's no London game, I'll do like a start sit show. But let's say when there is one, I can't because the London game's going on. So I am up at 7, right, watching football. I log off the stream. I start the stream at 10:30. I am off at 1. So that's what is that? 16 hours? That's 16 straight hours of football, taking notes, checking my fantasy teams, doing all the stuff for the show, and then like ending it. Like that's a fucking grind, dude.
That is a grind.
It's already a grind on Sunday from 11 till, let's say I do the show at 10. That's still not 7 a.m. Like that's a long time. And then you have Monday Night Football. Sometimes you have 2 Monday night games. I love Monday Night Football. I'm not complaining about that, but that's a long day.
And we get 2 Monday night games like that don't overlap. That 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock start that they started to do. You know what I mean? When they had a 6 o'clock and a 9 o'clock, or that was fine. But when they did the 6:30, 7:30, or whatever it is, where one game starts 1 hour later, why are we doing that? Why are we doing that?
Because Roger Goodell's a fucking idiot. My answer.
I don't particularly like him as an individual.
I don't think anyone likes that guy. You know who likes him? The owners, because he's a fucking yes man and he's a clown. So, all right, Storey, get the hell out of here. I knew you had a long week. Get some sleep. I'm going to answer a couple more questions. Get your questions in, guys, and I'll end here shortly. So we'll talk to you soon.
I'll be back on my game next week after a nice, restful holiday.
You were on your game. Hey, Storey, the bar's here, bro. So if I didn't love you, I didn't think you were the best in the business, I wouldn't give you a hard time when you have some slip-ups. And I would hope you would do the same to me, right? Please. One of these days, I'm going to give you the opportunity, Storey.
One of these days. The problem is, like, it's tough to catch you off guard, though. Tough to catch you not on your game. You know, this is, you got to be sure.
I'm prepared.
Yeah.
I'm prepared. I don't know. It's just funny. I drink all on the show, but I've got probably the most airtime ever in the last year of anyone that's doing this. So
I would say that it's a pretty safe bet.
Yeah. If you didn't realize why I don't go to the bathroom, and the thing is I'm drinking a lot more like liquids than you on the show, is I have a shitter built right into my chair, bro. It's great.
Oh,
so
you
and I have Erica come and change it. She's like a NASCAR pit person. And like, you just don't hear it. I mute myself and she scurries in here and empties my shitter and my pisser. So pretty great.
That's a hell of a setup then.
Yeah, I don't have to pay her very much. I convinced her that minimum wage is blowjobs. So I just get head from it. It's fucking great. The world's in a great spot, Storey. So love you. I'm kidding. It's not true, guys. She's never even sucked my dick. So
never. Not once. Not even the wedding night.
Right, get out of here, bro. Get out of here. No, I was way too drunk.
All right.
All right.
Talk to you guys
Storey.
later.
We'll talk to you soon. I'll get to a couple more comments here. And I actually do have to go to the bathroom. It's been 2.5 hours since I've been in the pre-show lobby, and I've had about 6 beers in the show. My bladder is a tank, though, guys. So I'll get to a couple more comments here. Where are we at? Hetzer, new offensive coordinator Zach Robinson said it will be a committee. Shoot one guy might get this is quote, shoot one guy might get the amount, get this amount the next week. They might end up balanced, feeling the hot hand, and we'll see where it goes. End quotes. Not a good endorsement. You know what? That's great for Gainwell. We want to hear that for the ancillary back. We don't want to hear that for the main back. Get a couple more comments in here, guys, and then I got to log off. Tomorrow night, I'll be drafting some underdog best ball. You know how I do. Probably have Big Ray back on here Saturday night. I have some family coming into town. Shout out to my dad who listens to every program. Super excited to see you, man, and have some beers and just shoot the shit with you. That's the greatest guy I've ever met. And if I could be 10% of the man he is, I'd be a good man. So I'm still working on that, guys. And one day I'll get up there. One day. Real quick, before I get to the last couple comments, also, I want you guys to check out Downtown Sports. They support us. We support them. They are awesome. That is on 23 different platforms, including YouTube. Just search Downtown Sports. Mouth Beast, where sports come home. If you like the NBA, they're going to get you covered on that. This is mostly football. Also, shout out to all of the Patreon folks in here. We appreciate you guys. A lot of good perks in this bitch, guys. A lot of good perks. If you're not in there, if you're interested in supporting me, supporting the show, and also joining the community, which is the biggest perk, but Discord is where it's at. Best fucking fantasy chat. Everyone's super active. Community fantasy leagues. I just posted 2. We have 2. We'll probably have 6 or 7 by the actual start of the season, start of draft season, that is. You join the community, you get access to play in leagues with us. There's no fee in the leagues, and there's no juice in the leagues. You just got to join the community and play against me, play against Storey, play against all these people you see in the chat. Guest appearances on the show. We'd love to have guests, fans on the show. Free merchandise giveaways, guys. We give away hats, we give away shirts. Also, access to the early bets. I do post these on Saturday for the NFL season, or even for the primetime games. You get these when I place them, hours and days before, which is going to get you way better odds. 96 and 58 last year, dude. So if you want to win money, you will actually win money. Like you'll pay your membership will be multiplied. Jay's in here. Jay, if you pay $10 a month, which is what it costs to get in the bet tier, and there's a lot of other good stuff. That's almost everything besides guest appearances in the show. You'll probably make 10 times your money, depending on how much you bet, because 96 and 58 is legit. And that's a 4-year sample, guys. We're just getting started on this motherfucker. We're going to have Mike Story's college plays added in here. We're going to have Mouth's NFL game plays added in here, as well as my prop bets. These are all prop bets. These are all documented in the Discord, in videos. We don't hide our record. We don't hide our plays. We give them to you. So go to the website, professionalfanatics.com. Link in the description. Join the community, guys. And you might be like, it's too early. Guess what? You get to get early access to the leagues and play as many redrafts as you want to play. We're going to have 6 of them. You want to play 6 against us? You want to try to play against me, play against Jonathan, play against Jay? Do it. Do it. Jay, ready for the prop bets? Damn straight, man. I'm excited, dude. It's a lot of pressure for sure. Last year was a lot of pressure because I had a lot of people join mid-season, with the record, and the record was like 39 and 15 at one point. And we had a little bit of a slow stretch, but we still ended at like 63%. So it's a lot of pressure because I'm also betting these. Obviously, you see my bet slips. I'm putting a lot of money on these. And I'm poor right now. I'm relying on this show. So I can't be losing money betting as well as losing you guys money, because that is going to lose subscribers and lose fucking followers. So it's a lot of pressure, but I thrive in that shit because, I know ball, and I've been doing this for a long time. What are we thinking about early rounds of the draft? So we're stuck here in the 4th round, Jonathan. I could sit around here and chat for a little bit about the dynasty startup. Some of you guys are not in the league. Obviously, it's the OG league here. All of the greats, and we're at pick 411. Jonathan, Javonte Williams, much needed pick for you. You're going win now. Ibuka and McConkey don't quite fit. Or sorry, you have Ibuka, McConkey, and Puka. Oof. I don't love Ibuka and McConkey for win now. I'm just not a lad guy, but I don't hate it. It's PPR. Also got McDaniel coming in there. Javonte fits this team really well. So I prefer Josh Jacobs this year for redraft, but Javonte might have I think this is it for Josh Jacobs. I think Josh Jacobs has one more year, Or I think Javonte will have this year for sure, and then next year he'll be in a timeshare, maybe at worst case. So I do like the Javonte pick, and I like starting off wide receiver in a full PPR with 2 flexes. You hit the we always do these underdog grades. Like you hit the construction pretty well. Even though I'm not a big Ibuka guy, super young though, not a big lad guy, also super young. But they seem solid, and Puka is just Puka at 5. Come on. Like, I get that like JSN is squeaky clean. There's some issues with Puka, but I like your team. Jay is sitting with Devin A-Chain, James Cook, AJ Brown, and Tyler Warren. So we moved out of that spot. So it's funny. I want to hear Jonathan's opinion on this. So we moved to 3 to get Jahmyr Gibbs specifically, or Jamar Chase, whoever fell. And we ended up trading our second rounder. And we also got moved up in the 7th and 9th round, which hasn't happened yet. But I did like the 6th pick. We traded up 6 picks from the 7th and 9th. So we were at 709. Now we're at 703 and 903. So I do like that trade up. But we didn't have a second round pick. So we got Jahmyr Gibbs and Kenneth Walker. Would you guys prefer Devin A-Chain and James Cook in a full PPR in Dynasty, or Jahmyr Gibbs and Kenneth Walker? So what do you prefer? Because I can see the argument for both. Devin A-Chain, bad offense, but dude, PPR, cheat code. James Cook has been amazing. But Jahmyr Gibbs is probably the best running back for fantasy and football. And then Kenneth Walker is in a great spot. So obviously you took A-Chain and Cook in the 1st and 2nd round. We got Kenneth Walker in the 3rd round. Everyone's saying Gibbs and Walker. I feel like the upside is Gibbs and Walker. The safety is A-Chain and Cook, right? Walker should fucking Kansas City. In terms of age, they're both really similar. Our running backs, I think Gibbs and Walker are about 25, where you have A-Chain, I think, is 24, and James Cook is 26 or 27. So pretty close. The fact that we got them in the 1st and 3rd round, though, his are safer. And then, so Jay has AJ Brown and Tyler Warren. We have Devonta Smith and Zay Flowers. I agree. A-Chain's going to see a lot of stacked boxes, but I think his value is in pass catching. The worry is that Malik Willis, scrambling quarterbacks, don't check the ball down enough or as much. But, I mean, what is he going to go from what should be 90 receptions to 70 receptions? So we'll see. We're not super thrilled about our start. Obviously, Mouth shook a lot of things up, and we made a trade with him, but like we got the worst end of the Mouth trades. I think we might have still won the Mouth trade, but I'm sorry. Derek got just a fucking haul from those trades. And I am a little questioning Derek's pick. So he has, let's just go to the teams here. So I don't understand. He went a little bit both sides. He was talking out of both sides of his mouth here with the Jordan Tyson pick. So he took Jonathan Taylor, Nico Collins, Rashee Rice. And then he took Jordan Tyson, which doesn't make sense to take Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs makes sense. He's going for it all this year because he has a couple more picks in the next few rounds. He's going to have a full starting lineup by week 9. I don't understand the Jordan Tyson pick. He should have taken a guy that's more impactful this year. I'm not saying Jordan Tyson won't be, but the Josh Jacobs pick, he's going all in right now, especially with Rashee Rice. I think he gave us a little bit of a gift there with the Jordan Tyson pick. He was trying to have his cake and eat it too. And in Dynasty, you can't do that. You got to go all in one way or the other. He still has a lot of capital. He has a 1st rounder next year. But I felt like if he had taken who he could have taken, he could have taken Roma Dunze, T. Higgins. Like if he had taken T. Higgins in this team instead of Jordan Tyson, we'd all be fucked, guys. And he might still take T. Higgins, but the wide receiver room is not good. Jonathan, I like my draft so far. You already know what I need to love my draft. A damn 6th rounder. It takes a while for a quarterback to go. I'll be good. You're not going to get one of the elite guys in the 6th round, Jonathan. And unfortunately, I play to win. And I know Dynasty is a long game. And the way our picks work, we have 25-year-old running backs. We can't trade for a 1st round pick. We can't. We're not winning. If we don't have our 6th round pick, we're not winning this year. And I'm not saying we are anyway, but I do trust me and Storey in our later round picks. We can't be losing a 6th round pick to play for the future when we have a lot of middle-aged guys, not the middle-aged, but Devonta Smith's like 26, 27. Like we don't have a young enough team to do that. And also I would never do that. I play to win. I'll figure it out later is one of those things. And I'll draft accordingly late. I'll get the guys that are young late. You know what I mean? So I understand teams that do play the long game. I won't do that. Blake, thoughts on my team so far? So, Blake, I can't wait for the recap show. Guys, anyone and everyone is welcome to come on when we do your team. We're going to have hopefully everyone on here for like a 3-hour stream. It's going to be amazing. Blake, Brick Flair, Hampton, Barkley, Neighbors, and Tucker Kraft. So I think Tucker Kraft was a little early, but I love Tucker Kraft, so I will never hate on you for that. I would probably prefer Warren in full PPR just because of the ACL, right? And Warren's a little younger, but Tucker Kraft's still pretty young. Neighbors and Saquon are kind of Neighbors can be good this year, and also he's 22 years old. Saquon has, I think, more of a shelf life than CMC. And Hampton, so this is kind of played down the middle. You can go either direction here, Blake. If you choose to, besides the Saquon pick, which is you get a guy you could trade midseason, right, for a lot of value. If you choose to try to rebuild, and since you still have all your draft picks, you could even trade back if you want to trade back this year and get another first-round pick and still try to compete. And you could trade Saquon midseason, or you could just trade back in the middle season and get a veteran or something. You have a lot of options in this team, which I like. You're not really married to the win now or the rebuild thing right away, which there's one good thing of having options. The other thing is it is tough. You want to kind of like being in the middle is the worst you can do because you never just want to finish sixth every year. You want to have equity and draft picks and capital and stuff like that. Or you want to be going win now because these windows, it's just like NFL. These windows are short. Honestly, me keeping my 27 first might be a blessing too. If there are still good quarterbacks around 8 or 9, there'll be good quarterbacks. They're not going to get, your Lamar Jackson, I think is already picked, right? You're not going to get that, but where do you pick? You have the 504, but I just feel like with the way quarterbacks have been falling, why would any of us take a questionable quarterback, right? Like there's not a lot. I mean, I guess you have Joe Burrow, right? And Jaden Daniels and Jalen Hurts and Mahomes. But I feel like that tier is pretty big. Caleb Williams at his age. So you have Burrow, Daniels, Hurts, Mahomes, Caleb Williams, Justin Herbert, Jackson Dart. I'm going to take Jackson Dart out of this equation. But you have 6 guys available. So it's like now this is a new tier of quarterbacks, right? Lamar's gone. As much as I love Joe Burrow, the injuries are fucking for real. Jaden Daniels, and Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes and Caleb Williams. Why not just wait and get the last guy, right? So it's like you could take Joe Burrow or Jaden Daniels in the early 5th, or you could potentially push in and get Patrick Mahomes, Caleb Williams, or Jalen Hurts, or even Jaden Daniels if someone's scared in the 7th, right? And we've seen how much these quarterbacks are falling. That's the thing. And I think we're all that don't have quarterbacks all in that same because it's 3 receivers and 2 flexes. So it's like you have to start essentially 5 receivers in this league. So is taking the somewhat elite quarterback worth missing out on having a good wide receiver 3 or a good first flex? So it's really balanced, and it's a big decision for all of us. So I'm excited to see how everyone plays it. Yeah, I agree, Blake. Saquon is CMC is a pick for this year, if you ask me. I think you get 1 or 2 years of CMC max. I think you get 2 to 4 years from Saquon. 2 years of prime Saquon, a 3rd year of still being RB2, and then the 4th year might be falling off. Here's the thing, though, Jonathan. If we all that don't have quarterbacks wait, I had an argument with my boys. You guys don't really know them. It's Mike Campbell's team, the Josh Allen trade up. And Rocco, I love him. I went on guy trip with him. He knows football. He's been playing Dynasty for 15 years. I have not. I am not Mr. Dynasty expert here, but I have played over 400 high stakes fantasy leagues. Obviously, I have this channel. No one's more tuned into fantasy than I am. I'm sorry to break it to you guys. It'd be impossible because this last year I haven't worked. And I've also been playing 25 redrafts the last 10 years while working. I am just so into the NFL and I have experience. And he was trying to defend the Josh Allen trade up. And I was like, for one thing, he would have been there 8 picks later with the way the draft went. So that was a bad trade up. And Josh Allen is not as valuable in a 6 for a passing touchdown league. And he didn't like it. He was saying I'm an idiot. And I love Josh Allen. You guys know I love Josh Allen. And I like Josh Allen, the fantasy asset. And he's 30 years old, though. And he's awesome. But Lamar Jackson has actually outscored him 2 of the last 3 years. So if you could tell me I can get Lamar Jackson in the 4th round, opposed to Josh Allen in the second round. Like, give me Lamar in the fourth. If we can get Caleb in the sixth round, I know it's not as safe, but if we can get Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert in the eighth round, is the value there in this deep league? Like, I don't think he understood the league. And like, I created this league, and not just like, is this my league? I created like the format of the deep two flexes. That's how I've been commissioning all my leagues. And like, you're only as good as your two flexes in these leagues, in these PPR leagues. Like, quarterback does not matter. It really doesn't, because the quarterback's so replaceable. It's so fucking replaceable. And in your wide receiver 4 isn't, because in bye weeks and injuries, you're gonna be starting fucking Ted Hurst. I'm fine with starting Baker Mayfield. I know he's gonna be on the field. He's gonna play. He'd be awesome. So we had a pretty heated discussion, and he was, I wouldn't say it was disrespect, but he was just kind of being a dick. Like, who are you? And I wasn't even like, I was just saying he shouldn't have traded up, is all I was saying. And I would have liked Josh Allen in the third round. And maybe I'm wrong for saying that, but I'm telling you from experience, I'm not wrong. And Josh Allen was, with the way the board fell, especially, a bad pick, because Lamar Jackson went literally 25 picks after him. Justin Herbert might go 6 rounds after Josh Allen, and it's going to be a 3 to 4 point difference at most per game. Exactly. Super premature. And Blake, you know how people like to come at me, and I don't know what I'm talking about. You know, I don't think I know everything, but I am pretty fucking level-headed about my shit. I don't attack people like for their picks. I made a little joke that it was premature, mostly because I also had insider information that he would have been there. Most likely, they would have had the 302. That's where Colson Loveland was selected by Ray and Chaz. And they both told me after the fact they got a free first rounder, and they were going to take Colson Loveland with that pick, which would have also been premature. But they were going to take Colson Loveland with the 206. They were going to take Loveland. That's where Josh Allen went. They got a first rounder, and they still got their guy. And that's how I know that was a premature. I knew for a million reasons it's a premature pick, but yeah, I got destroyed over that one. So we'll see. I just think that was just too early for Josh Allen, and quarterback should never be taken. And I get Josh Allen's going to go in the top 4 rounds. That's fair. Maybe even round 3, but I don't want to take any of these guys until round 6. Because you had to start 9 guys in this league. You had to start 7 non-tight ends and quarterbacks, 7 guys, dude. That's crazy. That's what matters. It's full PPR. Quarterback scoring ain't shit. I think Lamar's pick was a Q, Blake, because he texted me. It was a Q. I don't know why he let it run out, but yeah, it was a Q. It was a fine pick. Like, that's good value for Lamar. Fair value. I don't think it was great value for Lamar. I think it was fair. Jonathan, you're on the right track. That's why I said your build is ideal. I feel the same way about tight end as I do at quarterback. I'm fine with, like, those are the most replaceable positions because they're onesies. I'm fine with just starting Kate Otten. I mean, I don't want to start Kate Otten, but I can get Kate Otten in the 19th round. Like, really, like, Colson Loveland is fine. He's good. In the 3rd round, though, you passed up on, Kenneth Walker, and he went right next to Garrett Wilson, and, Devonta Smith went in the same round, like Christian McCaffrey. So, like, I'm fine with waiting unless you get crazy value on the onesies. I'm not fucking touching onesies until the 6th or 7th round. Even then, it's tough because I'm still, like, trying to fill out my roster. For being real, all the tight ends drafted so far have been a little early, but Bowers went 1st round, so the elite tight ends start. Bowers makes sense because Brock Bowers is super young. He's 22 or 23, and he has 110 catch upside. Where, like, Trey McBride, for instance, is 26. And there's no receivers in Vegas. So, like, the Trey McBride thing was a little early. I think it was fair. I love Tucker Kraft, so I'm not going to, like, Tucker Kraft and Tyler Warren should be drafted right around the same range. Colson Loveland was a little early. I mean, this is a sharp fucking league, guys. I mean, I'm nitpicking a couple picks, right? And I was joking about when I texted my buddies, and, like, they just can't. Like, one of them just can't. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, I was like, well, I do know what I'm talking about. Like, I'm not always right, but, like, I have a very good track record on fantasy, and I just, there's a lot of variables in the fantasy. That's why we can't win every league, but we can also make the right picks and have the right process. And trading up for Josh Allen, when especially everything that's transpired makes it's a bad pick. It's a fucking bad pick. He could be quarterback 1 and have an MVP season and it won't return value, I promise you. Or they hit on that late guy, right? And it doesn't mean that you drafted the running back early, Jay. It could just be you got amazing value, Bucky Irving, and 2 years ago. It could be, someone of that ilk. It's just you got to have a good running back for sure. Brock Bowers' hairline is fucking awful. Yeah, and dude, Blake, Tucker Kraft's that offense. Come on, man. And there's not a bigger Tucker Kraft fan in the universe. I know you're a Packers fan. I promise you I'm a bigger Tucker Kraft fan because I put, I don't know, $6,000 into Tucker Kraft last year. In reality, maybe not that much, but I had him in 19 of my 36 redrafts, over half. And sucks he got hurt, but he did dominate when I had him, and I had Harold Fannin everywhere. But like, that's putting your money where your mouth is. I love Tucker Kraft, and I was talking him up so much last year, and I still love him. A little worried about the injury. I'm not taking him as much as best ball, not so much because of him, it's because of the range he's going, and I could take 3 guys late. But I will probably be about Tucker Kraft in redraft this year at tight end 7 if the price is right, but if the medicals check out, right? I have to worry about the medicals.
Taco, don't think just because I got a lot of money, I'll give you taco flavored kisses, honey. Fulfill all your wishes with my taco flavored kisses. Taco, taco, burrito, burrito, taco, taco.
Yeah, the last thing about the quarterbacks is like, you're trying to fill out your roster. Like a lot of people don't have their RB2 yet. And you can wait, and that's fine. But if you're trying to play it for now and for later, like you got to fill out your lineup. There's so many quarterbacks. Dude, Baker Mayfield's going to be like a good 14th round pick. Baker Mayfield is 1 year removed from being a top 5 quarterback. And there's a lot of guys, a lot of quarterbacks I'm looking at down here. Like Brock Purdy, dude, is after the top 12. Brock Purdy. Trevor Lawrence, super late. Bo Nix, super late. Jackson Dart. Like, there's just so many. Yeah, Warren was great. Yep, especially if you're talking about young-ish running backs, right? We can all get the dinosaurs, but you just saw Josh Jacobs go off pretty early, so I think Derrick Henry might go off pretty early. And I think that seeing what Jonathan's doing, I don't want to give away your pick, Jonathan, but I know it's a little premature, and Trayvon Henderson's still available, but like Bucky Irving, Kyron, ETN's still available. ETN he's 27, but he's got 3 years in that deal. Scatabo, there are still like 5 really good running backs. So if you're looking for an RB2, there's guys. Derrick Henry should go off in the next round. But after that, we're down to Swift, Monungai, Charbonnet, Warren, Hubbard, Algier, Blake Corum, Rico Dowdle. Those are all timeshare backs, so you don't want a timeshare back in PPR, guys. You just don't. Not in terms of your starting spot unless you have, badass receivers. So, all right, guys, that's it for me. Tomorrow night, probably 10 p.m. Central, we'll do an underdog draft, or maybe if Blake is down. I know you said you're going to a WWE thing, so maybe not. We'll do DraftKings or underdog. I'll post it in the Discord. If you guys are not in the community, whoever's still watching, join the Discord, join the community, hop in with all these fine gentlemen. An Eagles player just got arrested for reckless driving and speeding at 135. Who was that? Don't tell me it was Devontae Smith. Who was it? Is this fake news? Is this real news? I'm checking it out. I don't see anything. So cite your source, TB, and let us know who it was if this actually happened. Appreciate that. Heyo, send us the clip of you in the Nolan Smith. Oh, I don't care about him. I just thought it would make sure it wasn't Saquon. Saquon's such a nice guy. He would never do that. Actually, you know what? It was Henry Ruggs, guys. They just signed Henry Ruggs. For sure. Well, you know what? It's a big surprise. An NFL player doing a dumbass thing, driving that fast. Just wait till you're retired. Can you guys just do that, please, for me? It's not hard. It's not hard. Have someone drive you. Just have someone drive you and get fucked up and bang bitches in the back of your limo. That's cool. That's much more cool than driving 135. Typical Georgia activity. Makes sense. Anyways, if you're not in the community, you want to join, hop in with us, get in the Discord, professionalfanatics.com, link in the description. Join us. Join us. We have a lot of stuff. We're on here every single night, guys, with awesome guests. Shout out to Mike Storey, who was great tonight. Also, shout out to the community who is just they're just a joy. They teach me stuff every single show. I give a lot of my credit to them for, throwing some stats out there and opening my eyes to some of these things, because we can't do this alone, right? None of us can. It's a group effort. So, okay. Also, real quick, somber shout out to Kyle Busch, who died at 41. I guess he just raced last week. I'm not a NASCAR guy, but I think he has the most wins in the NASCAR circuit ever. And that was kind of wild to me. Pretty weird stuff. So hopefully, shout outs to his, not shout out, shout out to his family. Prayer. I don't want to say prayers. That's not me. Thoughts are with your family, Kyle Busch. And sorry about that, man. That sucks. You know what? Life goes on, and let's just remember him from all accounts, pretty good dude. And just a shame. All right, out of here. Tomorrow night, 10 p.m. drafts. Saturday, Big Ray will be on. Probably pretty late for open bar. And you know the schedule. Will be on every fucking night. So you won't be missing me too much. I'll talk to you soon. You guys in the Discord and also in the Dynasty League, we'll be talking there, and we're drafting the next possibly 2 weeks with this Dynasty draft, maybe longer. Love your life. Stay positive and respect each other. I'm out.
You just seem like a good dude. I thought I'd see if you want to grab a beer, that's all. I'm glad you called. We get home safe, Pistol.
You got it, Jobin.
I'm sorry, what?
Nothing.
Oh, what'd you say?
I don't know. You nicknamed me Pistol, and I just called you Jobin. It means nothing. I'm drunk. I'm gonna call a cab.
All right, man. You have my number, yeah?
I got you stored in my iPhone.
All right. If you need me, call.